Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lightning Assault Noosphere podcast. This is the first podcast live stream we'll be doing in hopefully a long line of podcasts. We'll be doing this every Sunday at 7 p.m. My name's Nathan, the Mazer, and with me today is James, aka the Mad Magos from Mad Magos Paints. If you just want to say hi to everyone.
Yeah, hi guys. You all right? How are
So,
you?
you can find us at James. Where can we find you on Fiverr for your painting commissioning?
So you can find me at Mad Magos on Fiverr, dun dun dun, and also on Instagram. If you stick in a search of Mad Magos, you will find me there as well.
Yeah, and you should be able to see a Fiverr link down to James Commission Painting on the screen below. You can also join our Discord. It's completely free and open, discord.gg, and then there should be a little code at the bottom of the screen where you can find us on Discord. You're welcome to jump in there. And we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/lightning assault. If you do become a Patreon, you'll get a custom setting on Discord so people can recognize you on there. It's fairly cheap at the moment just to support us, to help us keep doing what we're doing. And then as we grow, we'll increase some of the tiers and what we can get you guys. And also you can find us at, for the meadery side of things, for the alcohol, you can see us at lightningassaultmeadery.com. So, James, before we dive into this Imperial Guard 9th edition Codex Wishlist, how's the hobby been going this last week?
Excellent, mate, to be perfectly honest. So I've spent the majority of this week actually moving into a new studio, aka my daughter's old bedroom. So she's taken over the attic, which is nice.
And now, have you got more room or less?
Probably less room. Nate, I'm just getting a little thing. Are we definitely live at this point?
Yeah, 100%. We haven't forgotten like last time. I can see
We haven't
the
forgotten
I can
about.
see the stream settings.
That's all right. So, but we're live. Yeah,
Yep,
we're
absolutely.
live. We're live and rocking. Sorry, I've just. So, as the guys may be familiar, we sorry to do a side track. We kind of we did a bat rep on Thursday just gone, which was interesting. It was great game, great fun. But we realised about an hour in that the software that we used hadn't actually kicked in after the fancy intro video that you'd spent so much time and effort doing.
Yep.
Bless you. So my partner Rachel, bless her, she's just come running upstairs going, "I don't think you're live. I don't think you're live."
Well, I'm
So
looking
it's
at I'm
nice
looking
that
at the
we've got
stream and
that
it says
back
we've
up.
been live for 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, well,
So
that's fine.
I know there's a
Uh,
30-second delay, which is intentional, so that if anything
right.
untoward happens, it's fine. We've got 30 seconds to unbreak it.
Mm.
On the other side of
Well,
things, we'll carry on.
we did promise on the video back rep that professionalism was only on the way up.
Yeah, I
But,
think I think it's been fine so far. This has been a grand success so far, and we're only 3 minutes in. There's plenty more to go wrong.
well,
Anyway,
definitely.
back to the old hobby
Yeah,
talk.
sorry. So,
Um,
what
I've
about yourself? You
I've
have been moving into the
literally
new studio.
just been building beast snaggers. I've obviously finished kit bassing my beast boss on Squigosaur. I've started building my 9 Squig Hog boys, I think they're called. I've nearly
Mhm.
finished those, and then once I've done those, it'll be on to the 60 Snagger boys. But I think that's. I've still got loads of Necrons to build and loads of other armies to paint. But I think now that I've finished my Imperial Guard and Adeptus Custodes painting armies, I'll probably try and get the Orcs painted up as fast as humanly possible. It
Well,
depends.
that's
So
fair enough.
it'll either be. So I think next week we're playing Custodes and Admech, which is fine. It's all prepared
Yes,
and ready. But
it is.
for after that, I think it's reasonably open to scheduling what we'll be
Mm.
playing. So it'll either be whatever's already painted the most now, or if I can somehow magically get like 100 models painted in the next 2 weeks, I might be able to jump on the Beast Snagger train and get something going for that. But aside from that, it's just been furiously gluing things together.
Well,
Yeah.
These things are these things we have to get done. We have to get through.
Yeah, I mean, when you buy
Um,
models, you get excited that you got new models, and then you realize that you've actually got to build them. And
Dude, where did on the street you bought two beach snagger boxes
yes,
straight off the shelf?
yeah, I was astounded, absolutely astounded that me and Dan just wandered into Boys just on happenstance after we'd played a game at the store, and I went there to get a squig. God, what's the orc model called? The squig launcher buggy. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Something, you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
I found one and I picked it up. And then as I was walking down the aisle, I looked at the top shelves and there was just two Beast Snagger boxes. And I was like, "Can I buy these?" And the lady was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You sure?" She just like, "Yeah." They just came out yesterday. I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I just dropped them down and bought them. It's probably not a wise mistake in the grand scheme, wise choice in the grand scheme of things, but I did it anyway.
Definitely, definitely not.
Yeah,
And
but
it's good. That's great.
yeah. But on the other side of things, if you saw a previous video that we did before the live stream battle report, which went incredibly, you know,
Well,
no, flawless victory. We started hosting an escalation league, a lightning sort escalation league. So last year in October we did an invitational to test the waters, get people ready and sort of on the train of competitive play, and now we've decided to do like an escalation league to bring in a few more people because there's a lot more people jumping on Warhammer in the local area at the moment. Start off with 500 points and slowly work ourselves up to 2,000 points. And we have 12 people there, so there'll be 6 rounds and plenty of people to play games with a lot of random people and random armies that they've never played with before. There's quite a lot of armies in the roster that even I haven't played against, just because there's not really historically been a huge amount of players and a huge amount of variety in the local
no.
meta. So it's quite nice.
No.
It's been good. It's been interesting.
I mean, off the top of my head, we've got Mirrors, not Blood Angels. We've got Custodes. We've got. Do we have a Tower Army?
We do indeed, yeah. A Farsight Enclaves. Oh wait, no. I can't remember what they're playing. It's Shadow Sun and some
Yeah.
sept. Some I can't remember which sept, but yeah.
So we've got Blood Angels. We've got Tau. We've got Custodes. We've got an Iron Hands list. We've got a Dark Angels list.
Yeah. Space Wolves.
We've got Space Wolves. We do indeed have Space Wolves. There's a lot of Adeptus Astartes. I don't know how we're
Yeah.
going to work this narrative point of view, but it is a competitive league.
Yeah.
I'll give it. Despite me, I love the narrative where Nathan is more of a competitive player, shall we say.
Yeah.
But I'm learning because, in fairness, you did bring me into the whole competitive play last year. But unfortunately, just due to life, etc., I didn't get as many games in between now as I'd like to. But you know, the back reports, you'll see me, as I've said in there, I am a novice player, competitively speaking. I say with air quotes using fingers. But you know, there's always room for a narrative game here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing
Yeah.
about this league is, I think the longer I played 40k, the less and less competitive I've become. Weirdly, I play a lot more interesting lists, not necessarily fluffy lists, but a little more sort of creative lists now and then, just for a bit of entertainment value. And there's a lot of fluffy players who are starting to get more competitive. So it's the leagues have done a really good job of introducing people to both sides of the play scale.
Yeah, we do have a nice balance. That said, guys, if you live in the Lincolnshire area or even further afield, by all means, get in touch. We'd like to hear from you. If you'd be interested in joining the next league, that would be fantastic. Again, you can hit us up on the Facebook page or on the Discord.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd love to hear from you. It can only go from strength to strength. I think we've got our core little group going, but like I said, we'd love to take it to the next level. Much like we're hoping with the podcasts and with the back reports, things will get bigger and better as time goes on. That's the
Yeah.
idea.
And the nice thing is the shop is open, 6 days a week. It's open late nights on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, so there's always time for Warhammer games. And there's also a huge amount of players who have their own battle rooms in their houses. So it's quite
Hmm.
advantageous that we've got a shop that can take sort of 3 tables and a lot of players that are able to play in their houses. So there's always room for more people to join the play group and hopefully make tournaments in future a little bit larger scale. And I was talking on the group chat earlier in the week that eventually we would try and do like a 1 day 3 round mini ITC tournament, rent a space or whatever, and just see how
Hmm.
it goes. I know it's tough on the knees. Standing up for 3 hours
Mm.
is hard enough as it is, but it'd be fun to give it one little go, especially if we can bring more people in from around the local area.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
like I say, guys, if you listen to this and you think, and even if it is you want to dip your toe in the kind of the ITC league, but I wouldn't say afraid of it. You just, you are a newer player to the game. We certainly wouldn't mind that. We can take into account for that kind of thing. Like, say, we've got in our little group already, we've got fluffy players like myself, we've got competitive players. We've got people, sitting in the middle, and it's various, I would say, ability levels as well.
yeah,
So if you just want to get that taste of what a tournament feels like,
without
without
the
feeling the
pressure.
pressure
Yeah,
of, oh my God, I'm going to a tournament. I need to be, up like 110% on my game. Like, I think the first time we do this, I'd quite happily say, look, if this is your first attempt at an ITC style tournament, this is your best shot at doing it, just to get kind of, it's a halfway house, if
yeah,
that makes sense. Because, there is going to be competitive players there, but I think, again, within our little game group, even the meta players understand and will kind of tone down their lists accordingly,
yeah, absolutely.
because there's already that big, huge, it's a huge market out there. You can go to London, Edinburgh, Nottingham, and everywhere in between. Each major city, I think, in the UK now is pretty much hosting an ITC level event of some sort. I mean, it's fantastic. It's fantastic for the community and fantastic for, overall the ITC team when you get into the grand scheme of things when you go to an international level. But, if you've always wanted to, but, for obvious reasons, like myself, have had that little element of hesitation, I think, you know, keep keep an eye out, watch this space, and we could potentially be, you know, the tournament for you to
Yeah,
just dip your toe and get a feel for it.
and quite a substantial amount of our players are perfectly happy to coach people through their games.
Mm.
I know me, John, and certainly a couple of the other guys in the tournament will literally play a game with you and go through everything that you could do, can do, should do, best secondaries, and they'll actively help you beat them to make the game, as enjoyable as possible and help you learn a few things. So we're quite lucky to have a reasonably polite environment for games.
Polite and educated and friendly
Yeah,
gaming group.
yeah.
Like Dan and sorry, what's his name? Who's going to London?
Oh, Henry.
Henry, yeah. So Dan and Henry are probably the edgiest side of the sword.
Yeah, they're the top level
Where,
players.
yeah, where I'm the blunt side, and you're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But like I say, John's very good to play against. I mean, he's taught me a thing or two, and like you say, typical exemplar of the type of player that will say, "Well, do you really want to do that? Because if you do that, I'm going to do this." Um, so yeah, like I say, fingers crossed. Our first ITC tournament, and if there is any uber meta players, again, you're very, very welcome. But I would say, you know, maybe he's tone it down a level, because you were hoping to encourage the newer players and grow that. And I think that's a really important gap to fill,
Yeah.
simply because there is already those meta tournaments, where you have to be 100% on your game, the best of the best, every single, that that moving that one model, that half an inch or 1 inch out of place, can mean the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah.
But you need to have, and hopefully we'll fill a niche here, that space where there is, getting from a fluffy list or just a casual gamer to that, because yes, you're always going to have that particular, shall we say, breed of person that is uber competitive, and I get that, but that can't be the entirety of the community. The community is like so, there's such a huge range, a variety of people and play styles and things like that. And if you want to encourage people into the ICT level of gaming, then there needs to be a stepping stone. It can't just be, I play with me mate once a month on a Sunday, to I'm playing week in, week out at competition level. Like, you're going to discourage people otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I know myself, like, if you get completely smashed first game you ever play, they're going to think, well, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
That's why I think this GW is a policy of the store managers, that if you go ever have an intro game, they will go out of their way to make sure that you win, so you get that feel good factor.
Yeah.
And I get that from a marketing point of view. Totally understand it. But like I say, in the grand scheme of things, going from once a month Sunday player to going into an ITC, you need that kind of in the middle stepping stone.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's, hopefully, like I say, we'll fill that niche.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I think our intro has gone on quite a considerable length now.
Hold on, down to the meat and potatoes of the situation.
So let's slide on by into Imperial Guard's potential ninth. Like I said, this is all just what we would like to see, issues we can foresee with the Codex as it stands that we'd like to see resolved, wish lists, all sorts of stuff. It's not a leak or anything like that. So we're just going to sort of go through a few things, some of the current aspects of the Codex, and give our 2 cents, I suppose. So at the moment, me and James are both pretty keen Imperial Guard players. We know the faction fairly well. We both play it. We both own quite a lot of the models, so we have a fairly good idea of both how players who are competitive want to play it and players who are fluffy players who like to play those fun games also want to sort of see things. So we're going to look at things at both angles. We're not going to complain that everything isn't viable, because like everyone says all the time, Games Workshop is a model company first that happens to release rules for their models. It's absolutely fine for there to be fluffy options for people to take, but there's also going to be options that are for your more competitive players. So there exists a space for both. So we're not going to axe something that is something that's beloved, but we'll work around it.
We like to operate in the grey.
Yeah, we're Switzerland. So at the moment, Imperial Guard is suffering a little bit, not as much as I expected in the tournament range.
No.
Its current win rate is about 40 to 43% win rate, so it's below the magic 50. But all things considered, they're not GSC, they're not Tau. They're kind of doing okay. Top end competitive lists are the classic either Katachan or the Gunnery Experts and not jury repairs, Gunnery Experts and Spot Details.
Yes.
And they always tend to soup in some Tempestus Scions. So let's start off with those regiments. I foresee that the custom regiments will probably stay the same way that the Space Marine chapter, successor chapters have stayed.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Yes, yeah. It gives you that personality to your own army.
Exactly, which I think is key.
Yeah.
And I would say, I think out of all of the armies of the Imperium, although we are very linked to, I suppose, Cadians in some respects, there is still a very good range of models, as in the sense that you can field a mechanized list, an all infantry list,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
heavy artillery list, a heavy tank list, a heavy fast attack list. I think, and with the way that the new Force Org sorts and everything sit into that, you know, that is the beauty of this edition, that you can, pretty much run an all-out fast attack army. You don't necessarily have to go to brigade, forget my words out, brigade,
Oh yeah.
battalion options. You can run a couple of patrols, or you can run a patrol and two vanguard, and the guard are quite already with the models wise. They have a happy medium, whichever way you want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of customization on the actual model kits as well already. Yeah.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, like, I don't know about you, but the custom regiments, um, they all seem fine. Some are better than others, which is absolutely fine. At the end of the day, every regiment has two traits, and I see a lot of people running probably four. There's a range of about four of the custom traits that people use, which, all things considered, is not bad of a variety in the meta. Like, at least people aren't just running one or two specifically. Like before, people would just run Katachan.
Yeah. So that would be things like spotted details.
Yeah, the gunnery experts, jury rig repairs, and then you've got the infantry one, survival experts, and stuff like that. So it's and then you got your fluffy options, which is, it gives you a nice 50-50 mix of competitively viable ones and ones that are just fun if you want to build around them.
Yes.
Regiments, the actual regiments though, it's a little bit less. A little bit less viable even for fluffy players, I think. So Katachan, obviously, strength 4, +1 leadership, and reroll the number of shots on D6, D3 weapons is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd prefer it if they didn't nerf that, but rather brought everything else up to its level.
To that level. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it doesn't feel unbalanced to me.
No.
I think it's just a case of the other ones are not don't really affect the game.
No.
So if we start at like from we'll do A to Z, I suppose. If we start at Armageddon, they're in the sector with the orcs, aren't they?
Armageddon?
Yeah.
So yes. But then again, everybody's in the sector.
Yeah, that's true. So their trait is
Armageddon Steel Agent, okay.
They're a vehicle legion, aren't they?
Yes.
So they rapid fire at 18 inches instead of 24. And their vehicles treat AP1 as AP0. That's their trait.
That's a trait. And then you can combine that with a strat that essentially... So, for example, turn 1, you move straight up the board and disembark.
Yeah.
Turn 2, you can, as long as you keep your unit within the chimeras, for example, you can then shoot and re-embark in the same turn, move on to the next object.
Okay, like a fire and fade sort of thing, but into a vehicle.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Which is quite handy.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing near to that was a strat for the Lehman Russ, which essentially allows you. No, is it a strat or is it a trait? Might be a trait that allows the Lehman Russ to essentially shoot and then move 6 inches.
Oh, okay. I think that might be a tank case or something. I don't know.
I think that is.
I have no idea.
I'm sure I'll pull it up at some point. It was something I was looking at earlier on.
Yeah.
The thing I thought was
the thing I would probably change about their regiment is the rapid fire at 18 doesn't really tickle me very much because it's It's only really affecting las guns, and first rank fire, second rank fire essentially does the same thing. I feel like they should
Yeah,
lean a bit harder on the vehicles. So at the moment, the side aspect of the vehicles is that they treat AP1 as 0, which in itself is slightly frustrating. I would prefer it if they changed treat AP1 as AP0 to just ignore the first AP of any shot. So
right.
AP2 becomes AP1, AP3 becomes AP2, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
so minus
their
one
armor
AP.
is, extra tough. And
No, like I say, I think that makes sense. That's without being overpowered.
yeah, it just
No, that
means that,
definitely.
they're saving Melter on a 5 up instead of a 6, which is fine. That seems perfectly fine for a regiment that's supposed to be vehicle orientated. That seems like a small but decent quality of life change. I'm just not sure what trait you would give their infantry that would adjust this rapid fire at 18 inches. That doesn't seem very Armageddon to me.
No. See, you could say give them preferred enemy orcs, but then again, that's very
Yeah,
situational.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
Honestly, I mean, the whole point is that um, the mechanized infantry.
Yeah,
So maybe give them the option
give
to,
them cover if they're within 3 inches of a vehicle.
well, yeah, or even if it was something like they can, get out of a chimera, shoot,
Yeah,
and not necessarily hop back in, but get out of a chimera, shoot, have to take a turn, but could then shoot again and get back in.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, yeah. After they've shot, they can embark on a transport as a trait.
Yes, as a trait.
That seems fluffy and viable in competitive play.
And actually, game worthy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So in theory, if you could move turn one, move out of your deployment zone onto an objective, say the enemy was in range because they had like infiltrators or
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So you move out, shoot. I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily okay because Chimera holds 10 guardsmen?
12. 12 models,
Well,
I think.
okay, so 12 guardsmen get out, or even get out and rapid fire,
Yeah,
and then you flip it. So they get out the ready kind of thing. So they get out and rapid fire, and then if they the following turn want to rapid fire and embark, you take it from the point of they are, the kind of
yeah,
shooting while trying to get back into the
yeah,
transport.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you do rapid fire, disembark and rapid fire, but then rapid fire and embark, but embark when they do that second move, it's at -1 to
Yeah.
hit.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I don't think that would be.
Not really.
I
It's
think
just
that's quite
guardsmen.
fluffy without being overpowered.
Yeah. I think we can tick that one off and move on to the next.
Okay, sorry.
It's been a while. Cadia. Reroll hit rolls are one if they don't move, and if they're ordered to reroll hit rolls as well, they get reroll everything if they don't move.
Yeah.
Which is fine. In 9th edition, not so great because you want to be moving your infantry. It's a bit weird because it feels like they only technically get one side to their trait. Every other company gets two. They just get reroll hit rolls all the time, or better rerolls if they don't move. Feels very
Um,
singular.
yeah. I think honestly, if you want to keep it kind of fluffy and competitive, Um, to me, second trait, I say fluffy and competitive, but the thing is about Cadians is there's that many regiments and that
Yeah.
many, you can have that much fluff. So if you wanted to run hardcore original Cadia, to me, second trait, um, preferred enemy. Again, I keep going preferred enemy, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Preferred enemy, chaos and chaos demons,
Yeah.
only
Absolutely.
because they, or you give them a trait where they're all veterans.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, I know.
that's
Yeah.
that's a lot. I
So
think a
yeah,
second
all
trait where they
right.
re-roll
So
wound rolls of 1 against chaos would be fine and fluffy.
yeah,
Maybe we'll just leave them as the fluffy faction.
nah, because James Workshop won't gonna leave them as a fluffy faction, are they?
No, that's true. They are the poster boys of the IG.
So you kind of, I don't know.
Maybe they should just
I
get
mean,
inbuilt AP, one AP on lasguns because they shoot slightly better than everyone else.
yeah, because they're so well trained.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'd be happy with that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Katachan, I think
maybe
we
manage on couple regiments if the second generation of Cadians.
yeah. Katachan, I'm happy to leave them as they are. Strength 4, +1 leadership, and reroll number of shots. Seems fine to me.
Mm, I don't know. Catachans for me, the big thing about Catachans is they need new models.
Yes. Yeah, their regiment is their traits are fine. It's just they
Yeah.
lack models that represent them, except Ripper.
Well, it's not that the lack representation, it's the fact that a Catachan head is bigger than a Primaris Space Marine head.
Oh, I see.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I know they used to headbutting orcs and kind of coming up against Catachan devils and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but mate, like the thing is they've done some beautiful sculpts with company commanders, and what's the guy and the girl that you run?
Sergeant Ripper, and I can't remember the other guy's name. I can never remember it. While you
No,
carry on talking, I'll go look it up.
it's the guy that rips off Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the trees. But yeah, Catachans have got some, they've had some beautiful skulls, and I know everybody's probably hoping after the Kill Team release that they're going to get Steel Legion in plastic. And to
Yeah.
be fair, I really wouldn't be disappointed if they brought out the full Steel Legion in plastic. However, I would remind everybody that they also brought out Traitor Guardsman in plastic within Blackstone Fortress and then did nothing after that.
Oh, he doesn't have a
Um,
name. He's literally just called a Katachan Colonel.
Catachan Colonel,
Yeah.
Special Edition Catachan
Yep.
Colonel.
That's
There you
it.
go. So yeah, I think wishlisting for Catachans, I think again, like you say, strats, fine, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Maybe's, do you know what I would actually quite like to see, from a fluffy point of view, and I think they could do this across codexes. And one of the things about ninth edition in general was it's supposed to be a lot simpler,
Yeah.
and they were dialing down a lot of the chaff and the soup. And I get what they've done, but at the same time, it's starting to feel this stage in the game that it's getting very soupy, especially with things like the
Yeah.
AdMech. Not to get sidetracked, but it leads us to a point like, rules on rules on rules and campaign supplements. I get from a marketing point of view, it kind of works, but the whole point that the marketed 8th and then ninth edition around was that you only need one rulebook and one codex to, go and play. You
Yeah.
don't have to carry around half a library with you every time you want to play a game. And it's getting very much back to 7th edition in the fact that, like, the amount of boots you're carrying around with you.
Yeah.
That said, on a side note, specifically, and I think this is quite a good example. It would be nice to see strats and warlord traits and things for combined armies. So, for example, Cadians and Space Marines fighting Chaos.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a combined army fighting a Chaos army, you get XYZ.
Well, we've
And
seen in 9th edition codexes, there's armies, well, not the codexes themselves, but in the latest, like, supplemental books, they've had armies of renown.
yeah,
So, and obviously with Be'lakor,
Codex specific, isn't it?
yeah, with Be'lakor, they brought out his army of renown where he could make an army of renown that was made of 4 different demon factions.
That is that is a very, very good point, actually. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another great example, and I am biased here, as guys will see. I've got an Admech army that I'm painted up as Riser. And the Catachans are famed for the 2 or 3 regiments that are currently sitting on Riser fighting orcs.
Yeah.
So that would be really nice if you kind of had an army of renown which was Admech Riser and Catachans.
Yeah. To satisfy the fluff players.
Not just that, it just gives to satisfy the fluff players, but if you make it, you know, reasonably competitive as well, like the boons, then it would kind of encourage people to maybe jump from Admech to God, or from God to Admech. And from a sales point of view, I think GW are missing out on a treat there. I would much rather, right? So, for example, Admech. Admech had a codex, and then they've had, you know, the Lucius and whatnot supplements that kind of span that. And a lot of people were upset about the fact that why couldn't they just all have that in a codex?
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I think the codex should be just rounded off. What I'd like to see in the campaign supplements is armies of renown. So if you buy your Admech Codex comes out totally, you know, buffed to the hell. Excuse me, your Space Marine Codex comes out buffed to the hell, and there's no further expansion on that. You know, you can run the most meta list possible and the most fluffy list possible and everything in between. And then I think where, from me, and again, you know, I'm not sat here as an employee of GW or anything like that. I'd love to be in a kind of way and then hate to be as not. But from a marketing point of view, I would love to see armies of renown in those supplements.
Yeah.
So if you combine your Space Marine army that you've already got and you go out and buy 100 quid's worth of Guard, or 100 quid's worth of Admech, or 100 quid's worth of Genestealer Cult, or whatever, and combine the army that you've already got with this army, you will get access to all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool
and
idea.
And it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'll get off me rant and I'll get off me high horse, and that's, you know, I'm quite passionate about this from a bluff point of view, and I think I genuinely do think that GW are missing out on a trick, rather than, and excuse me French, pissing people off like the Admech players by giving them half a codex and then the supplement, just give them the full goddamn codex and then say, right, armies are renowned.
Yeah.
You know, mix your Lucius with Catachans or Steel Legion or whatever. You know, mix your Riser with your Catachans, mix Mars with Cadia, and all of a sudden you get all of this. And it's a win-win. It's a win for GWs in the sense that they're pulling people into a second army. It's a win for the players in the sense that they get access to this.
Yeah.
I think, like I say, they've done it with Be'lakor. That was a valid point. Whether they've intentionally done that and, you know, they continue to do so, I'd love to see. But
we always see they try new things to open design space for future armies.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to.
Sorry,
I think we're on Tempestus Scions now. So they're.
No,
I'm kind of fine with their trait because they also have their sub faction traits like the Capic Eagles and the Iotan Dragons. So their
Hmm.
core Tempestus Scions trait is they get an extra shot on sixes if they're at half range, which is
Hmm.
probably going to change, I think. It's
Yeah.
the most inconsequential trait in existence. It never goes off, and when it does, it doesn't really matter. Um,
No.
so it's just kind of it's garbage. I imagine it will change to something else, but it almost doesn't matter because they've got their other little sort of regiments with their the ones that are good at disembarking and getting extra hit, the ones that get AP and all of that. So I feel like it's going to change, but it possibly doesn't matter too much because they've already got that design space expanded elsewhere. Um, so I don't know what you would change the core Tempestus Scion strat to. They're basically highly drilled, highly sort of elite Cadians, and they already hit on threes instead of fours. So I don't really know what you'd give them.
To be fair, would you not see them as drop in and die? Because I mean, realistically, if you run them on grab
Yeah,
shoot and surge. Um, Now I've got to admit, I'm a little bit lost off here. Grab shoot and surge.
it's just a
Is
deep
that
strike within
essentially just
9.
like, or do you have to run Valkyries in order to
No,
do
no, no.
grab shoot?
So grav shoot insertion means you can deep strike within 9 inches, same as a normal deep strike. The Valkyrie allows you to disembark them anywhere along the movement of the Valkyrie, and then with a
Right.
strat, and I think there's a chance for them to die when they deploy out the Valkyrie as well. But with a strat, you can deploy them within 6 inches of the enemy instead from a Valkyrie. So they
Right.
basically get better deployment from a Valkyrie with their grav shoot insertion. It's called precision
Okay.
drop.
But you pay a CP for that,
Yes, yeah,
and you can probably only do it on one unit
yes, per turn.
available. So that's how you improve them. Because Valkyries at the minute are dink,
Yeah, they're
as
silly.
can't flyers. Sorry, dink means crap or rubbish or poop in my language. So yeah, if you want to improve Scions and make Scions a viable army overall, um, yeah, you improve Valkyries, which I think would get you to a
Yeah,
later
definitely.
point. Anyway.
So,
Um,
Mordian then. Now this is the weirdest. I've never paid attention to Mordians. I assume this is just for fluff. So their traits is they get +1 leadership and +1 to hit only in Overwatch when every model in a unit is touching each other's base. So it's
yeah,
parade drill thing. So they're basically all in like a really tight formation. And that
yeah.
sucks for ninth. Hard
It,
because you want to spread around and you want to go fast, and there's a lot of terrain. So you're almost never getting this, and B, it's +1 to hit in Overwatch. Who gives a fuck about hitting in Overwatch with lasguns?
no. I think the only decent thing about Mordian is the fact that you can pay it's either one or two CP. And same thing, if you guys are kind of lined up, it's called lineup execution squad.
Yeah.
Allows you to target characters,
Yes. Yeah.
but
Th-
then you're targeting characters with las guns.
yeah.
I don't know if it affects heavy weapons teams.
Not sure. They also here's the other thing. They also get +1 to hit in Overwatch if they're within 3 inches of another vehicle. So this is for vehicles. So if your tank commander is next to another
Mhm.
tank commander, he gets +1 to hit in Overwatch. Like they're obsessed with Overwatch with Mordians for some reason. Um,
I think I've got to admit that kind of works in the fluff because
yes,
in the fluff they are very much like say first rank fighter, second rank fighter, much like
Cadian.
traditional red coats
Yeah,
army. No, I mean Canadians are your equivalent to your American GIs,
Oh yeah,
where more time and more like I say,
yeah.
eternal sharp. Uh, some people might get us, but it's that very much that red coat
Yes, I
British
still don't think
military
they
red
should have
coat
the
vibe.
entire squad forced to touch bases in order to get their +1 to hit in Overwatch, though. I would remove
No,
that. That's
no, that
punishing.
yeah,
Um, I just think there should be because they're like they're the pretty boys, aren't they? They're the
yeah.
incredibly disciplined, marching, fucking band, feathered hats, ridiculous guys that are all about image.
And yet not because the law wise, sorry, and this is me being the fluffy player. So the more times everybody takes them as that the fact that they, their uniform is crisp and it's
Yeah,
clean and it's like I say, they look like they go to war as if they were on a parade
yeah,
ground. However, um, they are also like almost infallible. They will never break law wise.
yeah,
They they will face down um, the old war and would rather be you know drowned in the green tide
yeah,
and stand there fighting to the very last millisecond,
yeah.
just shooting away
Well,
rather than
in
break
that
and run.
case, I think they should remove the every model has to be touching bases. So they get +1 leadership and +1 to hit in Overwatch. So the entire army hits on fives in Overwatch and has +1 leadership, but like just make it easier. So if they're within like 3 inches of another unit or something,
Yeah,
so
or
that's
even
like a parade.
doesn't or the equivalent of the old stubborn
Yeah,
where they will not fall back.
yeah,
So you can't fail a leadership test.
yeah. Oh well, not failing. That's very Krieg though. The
Uh,
Krieg are fearless. The Mordians,
no,
they're
The Krieg want to die, so the Krieg will run
yeah,
into the enemy trying to kill
yeah.
themselves. The Mordians just will not fall back. So
Well,
I think is it combat attrition?
yes, yes.
I
Should they just
mean,
ignore penalties for combat attrition then? +1 to
yes,
leadership, +1 to hit in
yeah,
Overwatch in general for army wide,
mhm,
and then don't take modifiers to combat attrition.
yeah. I think
That
that's quite
seems,
fair.
yeah, yeah. Talon. I'm actually okay with Talon. So Talon is quite cool. I see a lot of
Mm,
people running them. They can advance and shoot without penalty, and their vehicles can advance and treat all their heavy weapons as assault, which pretty much is them in the fluff, and it's actually decent on the tabletop. They're a highly mobile force that can
mhm,
fucking speed across the board with move, 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 and still
mhm,
shoot. And
mhm.
is it the best? No, but it's fluffy and it's perfectly good if you, as a fluffy player, enjoy the lore of Talon. I think it's like a real happy medium.
Mm. The only thing I would say with Talon, and I'm sorry, because I will have me see on every single regiment. So the Talons are actually a lot of people think they're based as like Arabian fighters. They're not. The law wise, originally they were based off the British SAS or even World War Two Desert Rats.
Oh yeah,
That's where the whole Talon comes from, the Desert Rats. And what I'd like to see is something combined with maybe Tauroxes. So
oh
the
yes,
equivalent
because they're kind of
of
crap for anyone except scions, aren't they?
yeah. So what I'd like to see there is something with the talons and the thoraxes from a fluffy law point of view.
Yeah,
Just basically because much like the British, used the Range Rover. I think that's what
yeah,
the Thorax is a very good basis of. Maybe it's even Thoraxes and Chimeras.
yeah,
And I'd rather see some kind of buff to that and maybe a chip away at, say, the Lehman Russes.
yeah,
Only because I think you could balance that out. So if you take the benefit of the kind of outflank and the move extra 6 inches, I think it is to vehicles. Um, there's a strat on them on the Talon.
Oh yes.
Like I say, I'd like to see something more. So if you run Talons, you run infantry, you run Tauruxes and Chimeras as kind of the light assault vehicles.
Yeah.
Um, I, I think Lehman Russ sit in a very, and I'm trying to think, and I am thinking on the fly, I'm not going to lie. They didn't have access to artillery. I think with the Talon, actually, I'd quite like to see a bit of a Scions with a twist. So you give them access to Valkyries, and like I say, and you give them a buff around the Chimeras and the Tauruxes.
Yeah.
Take away the buffs for artillery and for Lehman Russ. And you can run that as a mobile mechanized force, because to me, that's what they were.
Yeah.
They weren't like they're certainly not an infantry platoon, and they're certainly not a heavy mechanized platoon. The seek and destroy, the hit and run.
Yeah, hit and run tactics, definitely. That's very much them.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry again.
Yeah, no. Now this next one's difficult because it's very so Valhalla, or Valhalla and Ice Warriors. They're very similar-ish to Krieg, I guess. Live on an ice world instead of a fucking irradiated death world. Their regimental doctrine is very similar to the Kriegs, in that they halve the amount of models that flee in morale, and their vehicles act as though they have double the amount of wounds they have for brackets. So if they've got half wounds left, they're treated as having full wounds left, which is fine. I like this second part of their regimental trait. Vehicles having double wounds when it counts graphics is really good. It's a decent trait, and it matches the lore. It's the first half the amount of models that flee in morale. Well, in a 10-man squad, if you say have 5 or 6 die, one automatically runs, and then you're rolling 3 dice, and probably 1 runs away, maybe 2. And if you halve it, it just becomes 1. I don't know. It just feels like it doesn't really matter at all.
Interestingly enough, does it say rounding up or rounding down?
Let me check. Grim Demeanor.
Just while you're looking,
rounding fractions down.
Round fractions down. Right, okay. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. So, I don't know. I feel like morale doesn't really matter at the moment for Guard, because either the entire squad's dead, or most of it's dead, and then you lose a model. And that's it.
No. Valheim's no. I'm really happy with them, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sit. I think it's a fair representation.
Yeah.
Again, if we were going with down the whole armies of renown, I really think GW are missing out, because they have poured, or the Black Library has poured so much into Kaiser's Kane.
Yes.
And his Valhallan regiment. Much like they've finally come out with the Gorn's Ghost models.
Yeah.
I really think they would, if you brought out a Caiaphas Kane commissar, and then you gave them some fluff to go with the Valhallans, that would be amazing.
That would be cool.
Like, I mean, the fact that he always wants to run away, and, to save his own neck, but at the same time ends up being like out the sod's law, heroically, amazing, just for trying to save his own neck all the time.
Yeah.
If you give the whole army, say, plus 1 or plus 2 leadership, and you give them a 6+ invul save or something like that, or like a Feel No Pain 6+,
Yeah.
or trying to think, how would you fit Kane into that? Because he's very lucky and he always survives.
Yeah.
There's
I would
always
give
by
him I would give him that Makari thing where he's got like a 2-up invul, but as soon as he fails it, he loses it forever.
yeah, that would be cool. Yeah,
It's called.
yeah,
I think it started off with the Drakari with their Shadow Field or whatever it's called, and then they give it to Makari.
yeah.
That would be fluffy.
Maybe it's a leadership.
Yeah, gives them
Or
extra leadership. Yeah, +1 leadership
Mhm.
in a 6-inch bubble.
What you would have to do. No, I'm sorry. And what you would have to do is, even if they didn't give you the actual model for it, you'd have to give him null zone for his little aid. What's his aid called? I can't remember. Guys, comment. Give us an idea. Give us a shout in the comments. But so the whole thing with Kyphus Kane is his personal aid is a blank,
Oh, okay.
and that's what kind of gets him out of trouble more often than not.
Yeah,
That's how he was able to dive through like a chaos web, a chaos portal, or a Dakari portal, and all sorts. And it's got him out of trouble more times than it's got him into trouble.
yeah,
And apparently he stings to high heaven.
yeah. I can imagine.
So yeah, but again, we digress. I think yeah, I think they're in a good place in general, and I would love to see a Kyphus Kane model and some special army-wide rules to go with that.
Yeah. That leads us on to the second to last, which is the actual redcoats, the Vestroyan.
The penultimate, the
Yeah.
destroying,
So they get
right?
+6 inches to their heavy and rapid fire weapons that have 24 inches and higher range. So they are literally gunnery experts, which is a great trait. But I think they
Yep.
should have a second trait, like everyone else.
And I think if you're going to go with the second trait, the Stroyans are, let's be honest, they are Russians in World War II.
Yes. Yeah.
So, honestly, I would give the Guardsman 2 wounds.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So,
Well, they are firstborn, aren't they? They're the firstborn pride guys, aren't they?
they are.
Yeah.
However, if you want to go from a law point of view, and is it Stalingrad,
Yeah.
where the Germans faced up against the Russians, and basically you had 2 men and 1 rifle,
Yep.
and that's where I get the 2 wounds from.
The other
So,
thing, see, this leads me on to maybe they should have a special rule for conscripts
yeah,
because
okay.
conscripts are just not used right now. They're garbage. I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
Vostroyan should have a trait or something that makes it so if they use conscripts, they buff conscripts in some way. Like the conscripts get better morale or something.
Well, all right. Well, what about conscripts with 2 wounds and
Oh God,
minus
no!
one?
Can you imagine that? 30
Hang
conscripts,
on. Here we
60
go.
wounds.
Conscripts,
Yeah.
right?
Uh huh.
What do guardsmen hit on average?
So guardsmen hit on fours, so half of everything.
Right. So 2 wound guardsmen hitting on 5s.
Yeah. And then I suppose they've got his lasguns, and their leadership like 6 or something, aren't they?
Yeah, which
Eh,
means engine. Right. So hang on. So what is a conscript squad? How many models in a conscript squad?
30 max.
30 max. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Up at the 40.
Oh, their leadership 4. Fuck. So I feel like they should Add one to their leadership. Add one to the leadership of conscripts.
See, I would give them 40-man units. I would honestly 40-man units, max 40-man units.
But they only
Hitting on
get
five.
20 guns.
Yeah. No. 40-man units hitting on fives. Because what's that on average? If you're a 40-man squad hitting on fives,
You're getting like 15 hits.
10 to 15 hits.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
And the las guns.
And then you're wounding pretty much everything on fives, if not higher. So you're only getting 5 wounds at AP 0 from a 40-man squad. At that point, you're just rolling dice for the sake of it, though.
But you're not, and that's the beauty of it. Because there's so many dice you're rolling, it's that random.
Yeah, maybe.
Honestly, I would say that. 2 wound guardsmen.
Okay.
Hitting on fives. And maybe it's +1 to the leadership.
For the conscript.
That would. Yeah, but to do that with Australians, bearing in mind how much the models cost.
Yeah, that would be insane. Or maybe you could allow Vostroyan to take 20-man squads of guardsmen instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked that one to death.
But then you can always run Cadians and just say the Australians.
Yeah.
Red and thingy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of if you balance it in the middle. No, I would quite like to see that actually. Because then in each squad you could have, for those that have already spent the time and effort collecting Australian, you could have them as the main guys, and then or your elites, and then just run Cadians as kind of your chaff.
Yeah. Or
for every one elite guy you have one Cadian, which is kind of the second guy.
Yeah.
Where you have a soldier and a conscript essentially in each squad. Much like you had like Black Templars, you had like a scout and a marine. And yeah. So you either double up that or you count them as 2 wounds.
Yeah. Maybe. It would be fluffy. I don't know how it would be. It would be balanced. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Krieg. Moving on to Krieg.
Swarm objectives.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wounds to clear off an objective, but at the same time, they're not really doing much damage to you.
No.
Even though they've got that many models. So I think kind of balances it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll wishlist.
Yeah. Final regiment, which is Krieg.
Right.
Now, they've recently been changed, and I don't like the change. So I would like them to go back to what they were before. So before, they used to ignore morale in the shooting phase. And I thought that was fine. Now, all they do is ignore attrition modifiers.
Yeah.
So I think they should get rid of the ignore attrition modifiers rule, go back to just doesn't take morale in shooting. And then the second part... and then the second part of their current regiment is that characters and vehicles can shoot with 1 weapon on death on a 4-up, which I've played with, and it makes no difference to the game whatsoever. I was thinking of 2 things, right? Now, I know Games Workshop absolutely fucking refuses to do this, but I think they should lean into the shovels, right? Because let's be honest, the entire community memes on the shovels, so just lean into it. Just accept it's a thing, right? So I want their second trait to be one of these 2 things. Either they get +1 to their armor if they're more than, say, 18 inches away from whatever's shooting them, to represent them digging trenches. Or I want them to get a single extra attack in melee with a shovel whenever they attack.
Yeah,
that has a better than punching profile. So just give it AP1 or something.
I don't know about extra punching profile. I agree with the extra attack. much like a chainsaw gives an extra attack.
Yeah.
What I would, okay, so I'm going to meet you halfway. What I'm going to say is give them both. The fact that they can dig trenches,
Yep.
and the fact that the trenching tool gives them an extra attack.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that's cool.
No AP or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just
an extra attack.
Come on, if they're gonna, I mean, if they're talking about giving, or they have given, Admit complete like +1 out in the open.
Oh yeah.
So give that to Guardsman.
Yeah, to Kriegers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be great, but only if they remain stationary. Because it's trenches.
Yeah. So they've spent the turn, half the turn shooting, half the turn digging a trench.
Yeah.
If they remain stationary in the previous turn, they get the benefit of light cover, even if they're in the open. And then, I mean, come on, the Guardsmen.
Yep.
So they've got the trenching tools, which they're formidable with. So yeah, they get +1 attack. And then that encourages you to run them not only as infantry heavy, which is what the law suggests, you know, they're a bit more skilled with their trenching too. No, I like that. I do.
I think it's fluffy, and I, as a competitive player, would love to play it.
Yeah, I think if GW haven't listened to us, guys, you need to kind of FYI listen to these two.
Yeah, definitely. So that's it for the regiments. I figured we could move straight on to stratagems.
Right.
That's the next port of call. I'll be honest, for the most part, I can't really complain about their stratagems. They've got, say, 1/3 of stratagems that are pure fluff related. They've got 1/3 that are absolutely solid on the competitive level. You've seen all the stratagems I play. And then another third of them are in the middle. Like, there's a couple of useful ones that you won't see used every time. But there's a couple that I do use every so often. Like, you'll see me use an aerial spotter occasionally with the Basilisk. You'll see me use jury rigging to heal a tank commander just to get him on that next bracket. The stratagems for some of the... I think the stratagems for all of the regiments are bang on. Like overlapping fields of fire for Cadia, sending the next wave for the Valhallans, Firstborn Pride for the +1 hit for Vestroyans. That all feels really good. Talan have their ambush stratagem. So I feel like the regiment stratagems are fine. All the rest of the stratagems seem really good. The only thing that I have to complain about stratagem-wise is Vengeance for Cadia is fluffy but downright overpowered in competitive scene if you happen to go against a chaos player. Like, it is devastating. So normally Imperial Guard, 43% win rate, they're not that great. Let's say we adjust all of their models and their regimental traits so they become slightly better, and then if you happen to play against a chaos guy, you pop Vengeance for Cadia, and you can one-shot a Chaos Knight that you can't do against any other army, and it kind of feels a bit dirty. Like, Chaos is already hurting as it is because they're not very good, and just to go against Imperial Guard and them to pop this strat.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, if you take that going into a competitive tournament, how often are you likely to face Chaos play?
None at all at the moment. It never gets used because very few people play Chaos Space Marines because they are garbage.
Well, so there's my point right now. And that would remain the same.
Yeah, but what if Chaos Space Marines get buffed and they're no longer garbage and you see more Chaos, and then all of a sudden... Actually, I agree with you now, suddenly. Now that I've thought about it, because the game should be more rock, paper, scissors and less ones and zeros, if you know what I mean. It shouldn't be a binary, this army beats that army. It should be a circular. Army A beats Army B beats Army C, but Army C beats Army A.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what I like about it.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to my armies of renown thing.
Yeah.
So again, and I'm gonna only because I am biased. So again, if you say you combine, say, Riser with Katachan Dungle fighters, who are currently fighting the Orcs on Riser, you give armies of renown, you get that, and you come across Orcs, and all of a sudden, both your Riser and your Katachan Jungle fighters have their baseline strats. So the Katachan's +1, the Riser +1 attack, which Riser, if you look at it in an AdMech point of view, is quite weak. And Katachan's okay, Katachan's a fairly thing, but if all of a sudden you take an army of renown, you say both those armies keep their original warlord traits and strats, etc.,
Yeah.
but they also gain preferred enemy, all of a sudden, against Orcs, like, you can take on the Beast Snaggers and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And fair enough, that is a bit of a big dump on the Beast Snaggers, especially when they've just been drawn out. But if you put a Beast Snaggers army currently against a Knights army, I guarantee the Beast Snaggers are going to have a whale of a time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, and this is the thing about 40k, it kind of goes from the narrative to the competitive. I think the beauty of the narrative side of things is if you were playing an Orc army and I got me way and I had preferred enemy Orcs with my Riser and Katachans with brand new shiny models that kind of looked right, and I got preferred enemy, I'd be saying to you, okay, look, mate, we're going to play this game. My army has this and this, and it's obviously going to trounce a stock standard 2,000 versus 2,000 points. Why don't we, for argument's sake, say I keep my preferred enemy, you run a 1,500 points, but you get endless tide. So every time, your unit goes down from, say, down to 50%, you can choose to completely destroy that unit, but bring it back in 100% on your board edge.
Yeah. For narrative
Bit
games.
like a bit like the old guard endless wave with conscripts. And that's the thing, like you say, you don't want a binary, you want a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Yeah.
And I think people are sensible enough if they're going to do that on a narrative level, that you get that. But at the same time, if you're going to go on the competitive scene and say, right, okay, I'm going to risk it for a chocolate biscuit, I'm going to run Cadians with that warlord trait. And you know what? If Chaos suddenly get a big boon and everyone's running Chaos armies, I might lose me first game. I might draw me second, but then all of a sudden, me third and fourth are completely trounced because the chances are me third and fourth I'm going to get Chaos. I suddenly bump up the rankings, and granted, I might not win, but I've suffered the penalty in my first two games, and I've reaped the rewards in my second two.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And we can say this, and people say, "Oh, well, Codex creep." Well, Codex creep is going to be Codex creep, no matter what. At the end of the day, I think what they really need to do is, from a competitive point of view, if you're going to take a specific army that's really, 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 really good against another specific army, that you boost that to the max and you turn that volume up to 11, and then for everything else, they're a 6 or a 7. So everybody has that one particular army that they're really going to, no matter what, they are going to trounce in a competitive level. And then they don't need to worry about it because everybody has their rock versus paper versus their scissors.
Yeah.
And then if you want to play a fluffy game, your rock is going to beat their their scissors. So from a fluffy point of view, you say, okay, we'll take 3 scissors and I'll have 1 rock.
Yeah.
And I think the community can, I certainly think the narrative community can manage itself a hell of a lot of better than the competitive.
Oh, definitely.
That goes without say. And like I say, I am a narrative player, so I am kind of biased on that point of view. but I am starting to see myself and enjoying the competitive side. And like you just said there, the whole rock paper scissors thing, I think works as opposed to the binary.
Yeah.
And I think no matter how much Games Workshop would like to be binary, they're always going to have the rock paper scissors because of Codex creep. I genuinely think it's really hard. You know, it's almost impossible to not have Codex creep.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not defending them for that because sometimes it's blatantly obvious that it's a Codex creep. Admech.
Yeah.
And then other times I think it's just generally they get nerfed as time goes on.
Yeah. That makes sense. Moving on then to warlord traits. There's not actually that many warlord traits. And
There's not.
Honestly, there's sort of they're all fine, I guess. Grand Strategist is great. Old Grudges is great. It's reroll rune rolls against a specific target if they're within 6-inch of Warlock. Implacable Determination is add 6-inch to moves instead of rolling a dice. Draconian Disciplinarian's not great. It's that reroll failed morale test for friendly Astra Militarum. Not really a fan of it, if I'm honest. I don't know. It seems very tepid compared to the rest. But I guess it's more for your commissars. Bellowing Voice, which is, again, great. Adds 3 inches to their Voice of Command and Aura of Discipline. I'd like to see that adjusted slightly to works with Vox casters, maybe, in some way, which we'll go on to in a second. And Master of Command, which allows them to issue extra orders. I mean, they're all fine. I mean, there's some competitive ones, there's some fluffy ones, and there's some middling ones. They're all fine. And then there's the regimental warlord traits. Cadian is for superior tactical training. So on a 4-up, they get to issue an extra. The order affects an additional unit, which is great. Katachan is lead from the front, which is heroic intervention, which is 6 inches, which is actually really good. Custodian, one of the custodian captain commander's traits is consolidating and heroic intervention up to 6 inches. And Space Wolves get the heroic intervention and stuff. It's again a great trait. Valhallan have 5-up feel no pain, 6 upon a vehicle, which is fluffy. It's not amazing, but it's fluffy. Vestroyan have got reroll failed hit rolls and wound rolls in the fight phase, made by the Warlord, which I'm not massively fond of, but it's because they've got those swords. They're those, traditional sword wielding. They've got their drill swords, and so that's fine. That's their fluffy edition. Is it great? No, but if you're a Vestroyan player who likes to march some squadrons up in perfect form with their decorative swords and get into melee combat, then whatever. Armageddon gets an extra attack, and you get +1 to wound rolls, I think, in the fight phase. Very similar to Vestroyan. Talan.
But this is how we're saying, if we kind of granted it's our wish listing, but with the Vestroyan, if they go heavy infantry and they're getting the bigger units, then that kind of ties in with them, even though the overall strat's the same. It has a different impact on the army because you're running the army in a different way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then with the Armageddon, they're mechanized, so they're jumping in and out.
Yeah, the Armageddon's warlord trait doesn't really make much sense to me. I think Armageddon's trait needs to change to something, like you said. It needs to be something to do with what you're building around. I'm not really sure. You don't want it to be too egregiously ridiculous.
No.
But,
sorry.
So these are the ones that are going to have the tough tanks and the rapid fire 18, aren't they? I would maybe allow maybe make it a warlord trait that you can give to a tank commander.
Right.
Where I don't know. Give him +1 to his armor set. Oh no, that's already a tank case, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I would maybe have a warlord trait for Armageddon, so he just completely ignores the bracketing system.
Yeah.
That would be fluffy. Like he's on 1 wound, but by God, he's still hitting on 3s. He's still moving 8 inches because the
Or even
tank
if you
is made
said
of
that,
fucking
even if you
titanium.
applied that all and said, yeah, fair enough, to all chimeras.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Talon's warlord trait is actually decent. Every unit within 6 inches can charge even if they fell back. I mean, granted,
Right.
Talon are not very good in melee, but being able to fall back and charge is something.
It surely is.
Militarum Tempestus, their warlord trait is weird. See, this is another one I changed. So their warlord trait is they can attempt to deny a psychic power, which makes no sense at all. I understand that the Schola Progenium is like full of where they train like assassins and Primaris Psychers and obviously the Militarum Tempestus, but the Militarum Tempestus don't exactly strike me as a, oh hey, this guy can deny psychic power just because reasons. I don't know. I think I'd give them something else for a warlord trait. I feel like it should be a bit more. I don't know.
Just a bit more something.
Yeah, a bit more educated, if you know what I mean. Like because the Tempestors are basically a guard but elite.
Guard but elite.
Yeah, and a warlord trait. It's a difficult one. I can see why they just went, oh fuck it, just let him deny psychic power. It's
yeah, but
you know what I'd do? I'd give him a warlord trait so that he can redeploy himself and 1 or 2 other Tempestus Scion units before the battle starts.
See, I still think they're missing a trick with the Valkyries.
Yeah.
I think that's where it lies.
Holy shit, that's it. Give it a warlord trait that you can put on a Valkyrie. Make it character.
What, make the Valkyrie a character?
Yeah.
Or a squad?
Make the Valkyrie.
Valkyries can run in squads of 3s, don't they?
I don't know. Wouldn't it be funny if you could run a Valkyrie in a Tempestus Scions detachment that was a character, still a flyer, and it had a warlord trait just specifically for this purpose, where it could, like, I don't know, units that drop out of it get a bonus or something.
Well, see, they can get that already.
Yeah, that's true. As the Capic Eagles, yeah, that's
right,
true.
Okay, so what you could see is, so the Tempesta Science Command Squad and say 2 other squads, if they all go in Valkyries,
yeah,
they can deep strike within 6 inches. Because bear in mind how many points there's going to be: three full squads of Scions and 3 Valkyries.
Yeah.
Right? So that's going to be a big chunk just in that. So you say you give your 3 squads of Scions, 3 Valkyries, 1 to each squad, the command squad, and then 2 full normal squads. You give them grav shooting assertion within 6.
Yep.
And you give the Valkyries something along the lines of, I don't know, straight and run. So in the same turn that they grav shoot deploy, the Valkyries are hitting on 3s instead of 4s.
Yeah.
That would be quite cool.
Yeah.
And then, if you were running more squads and more Valkyries, then they don't get it, but they can drop on your backfield objectives or your midfield objectives, and you're pushing your command squad from the front.
Yeah, that makes
that
sense.
kind of thing. Or if you have some of your scions in what I was saying, what the Talon want, the light vehicles,
Yeah.
the Chimeras want. And
No,
you have
seems a bit more interesting.
You kind of have a joint venture there. You could even say you give your scions outflank from turn 1.
Ooh.
If they're deployed in Tauruxes.
Yeah, kind of like drop pods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Coming in at the board edge, you still don't make them OP. They can't come in at the board edge and then move and get out and deploy and shoot. But you can see from turn 1, your Tauruxes can outflank.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense with the whole elite force and light vehicles, being hard to spot or rapid redeployment.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to see that.
Now, this is interesting. I don't believe the Krieg have a Krieg Warlord trait.
No.
I don't think they've got one. I can't find one anywhere. So we've got to make one up for the Krieg Warlord. Now, they already should be, ignoring morale stuff. So leadership kind of doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
But I feel like it should be something to do with the fact that they, operate on a death world. They never fail morale in shooting.
No. I would say, honestly, with Krieg, I would do something along the lines of, I would say, ignore leadership modifiers.
Yeah. So we've already got the ignore leadership in shooting. So this is a warlord trait.
Yeah. Reroll charge rolls.
Really?
Well, yeah, because they're all about diving forward.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea because they'll get an extra attack that has no AP with their shovels.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, actually, that makes sense fluff-wise because they would just fucking charge in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That was easy enough.
In fact, I would even go as far to say as +1 to the charge and reroll charge rolls.
That's quite a lot.
It is, but it's guardsmen.
Yeah, I suppose it's a lot for any other army, but for guardsmen it doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah.
So basically they can't fail a 3-inch charge. And when they do charge, they get put more than 3 inches because, like you say, that like fanaticism.
Yeah.
So they've got an automatic 3-inch charge. They get +1 attack with a shovel.
Yep.
Which isn't an AP weapon, it's just a strength weapon.
Yeah.
But you do that en masse, and it might have, it might encourage people to say, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, next protocol is tank cases. So I have been looking at a lot of the recent 9th codexes, and I can see that a lot of stuff that costs CP, like Chapter Master for Space Marines, the
rerolling,
all of the orc, what do you call them, custom jobs, they all cost CP before, and tank cases cost
Mhm.
CP. And
Mhm.
now, with the new Space Marine Codex and the new Orc Codex, they've all gone to point costs. So I
Mhm.
think that tank cases might, or possibly should, go
Should go to
in as
the
point
cost.
costs,
Yeah.
because it feels kind of bad that you have to sacrifice a warlord trait to get a tank case.
Yeah.
And at the moment, because there's only one that is good, it's the only one that's run because it costs a warlord trait and because it's limited to only being able to spend for an extra one for 1 CP. So I feel like more people would
Yeah.
use the tank aces, and they're not, apart from the Basilisk, not Basilisk, apart from the Manticore one with the flat 3 damage, the full payload, they're not horrendously overpowered. I think they should cost
No.
a lot in points. Like, they shouldn't be as cheap as the Orc custom jobs, which are only 10 points. I think they
Yeah.
should cost a lot more, like 25, maybe even 50 for some of them. But they should just
Mhm.
cost points instead of CP, because I don't know. I like the idea of tank cases. I think it like fills a lot of gaps, a lot of issues with some of
Yeah.
the vehicles that people wouldn't ordinarily take.
No.
And I think if they allowed that, it would make basic non-tank commander Lehman Russes a bit more viable again.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely.
I reckon they'd probably
If you
nerf
made them even if you made said tanks commissar tanks.
commissar tanks.
Sorry,
Commissar tanks.
commissar tanks. So you know how um I'm going to go back to Armageddon here. Um, what's he called?
Caiaphas
Not
Kane.
Creed. No, not Cade.
Gaunt.
Oh, he ran away with the Black Templars to go and chase Gazgul.
Uh,
Yarrick.
oh, Commissar Yarrick. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Yarrick. That's the one. So could you not give? Because commissars need to be more relevant.
Yeah,
Could you
definitely.
not
I was going to
give
get onto
you?
that.
Could you not have a commissar Lehman Russ, a commissar, you know, Basilisk, or just something that kind of, like you say, does that with the warlord trait, or
Yeah.
and brings the whole commissar thing
Yeah.
into.
I
Does that
think,
make?
yeah, I think obviously the full payload tank case is probably going to get nerfed somehow,
Mm-hmm.
because you've seen how devastating those manticores are.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of the other tank cases need to be made a little bit more viable. Some of them are good, like extra AP on a battle cannon, extra armor save on the Lehman Russ, some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they should be point cost, and some of them need buffing, because the only way for a Baneblade at the moment to get regimental traits is with a tank case, and that
That's
costs
right.
a CP, or you sacrifice your Warlord trait. So if a Baneblade could get a regimental trait for just paying extra points for the tank case, that would be great. So that's buff to
Mm-hmm.
that trait. Um, there's a couple of other ones which are not good. Like one of the tank cases is called Shatter of Wills, and it just gives -2 to leadership to whatever it shoots.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if a tank shoots something, it kills it. If a basilisk or a manticore shoots at something, it kills it. So the leadership doesn't
You don't
matter.
need to worry about the leadership. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a dead one. And then there's a tank ace trait called well stocked magazines, which is literally gunnery experts. So you can play a
Mm-hmm.
non-Katachan, non-gunnery experts list and still get that, reroll number of hit rolls. So there are some decent tank traits that aren't pushed. They're little quality of life improvements, but they're locked behind this weird wall. And so they've paid these designers to invent these traits, these tank aces, and they've
Yeah.
come up with this really nice design space, and then they've locked it behind this wall that just seems a bit arbitrary. And it feels like the only purpose of that wall is to stop me from bringing 9 full payload manticores,
Yeah. No,
which
that
is
makes sense.
fair, but that is an issue with full payload, not with the tank case
No,
design.
you're right. Yeah.
So
So they kind of need to mitigate one to make the other viable.
yeah, so I think I think they'll change them to cost points. I think they'll nerf some and I think they'll add some because that's exactly what they did with Orc custom jobs. They got rid of a bunch of custom jobs that were just egregiously offensively good, made the rest points, and it was a not Orc players all around were okay with it. So I hope they sort of go that way with them. Moving on to relics. Again, they don't have many, do they?
No.
They've got Kuro's Aquila, which is classic. They've got the Laurels of Command, which is great. You've seen me use it to great effect. Yeah. That's fine. They've got the Death Mask of Olanius, is it called? I think that's the one that gives them a slightly better inborn save, or that might be the dagger. I think, Death Mask is.
Death Mask, yeah.
And then they've got the dagger of. Oh God, I can never remember what it's called. It begins with a T. Let me find it. Suak. Let me find it. If I can find it. Oh God, I've lost it. Heirlooms of Conquest. There we go. Where is it? Dagger of Tusak. Yeah, that's it. So this one's a bit odd. During deployment, set up the bearer and one Astra Militarum infantry unit from your army behind enemy lines instead of placing them on the battlefield. The infantry unit must have the same regiment keyword, whatever. At the end of any of your movement phases, these units can launch their daring attack. Set them up within 3 inches of each other anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within 6 inches of the edge and more than 9 inches away from any models. Okay, so this is not terrible. Yeah. It's just a... it's literally Talon's ambush, isn't it?
I was going to say it's Talon, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. Maybe I was thinking of something else. Yes, I was thinking of something else. Sorry, I got this confused with the Blade of Conquest. So, this is a relic, and it replaces a power sword on your warlord, which, I'm not aware that anyone uses a power sword on company commanders.
No.
And it just gives it an extra AP.
Yeah.
That's it. It's strength +2, AP -4. Oh, it's D3 damage instead of flat 2. Oh, that's worse. That's objectively worse than a power sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that probably needs adjusting because it doesn't make any sense. Extra AP.
That, funnily enough, when you're saying Talon, I think that was for the... what did you call the guy? The company commander for the Talon?
Oh, I have no idea.
The big sword. Gone now.
I don't remember what his name was.
But
Blade of Conquest.
Essentially, but I think that's what that is supposed to.
Okay, fair enough. Other than those typical, and Relic of Lost Cadia, which is fantastic. Reroll wound rolls of 1 for all Cadian units within the bearer. And reroll all failed wound rolls for a targeting. So again, we're talking about Vengeance for Cadia, but in a relic form. I'm fine with that relic. All the rest of the relics, right? They're all pistols.
Yeah.
Like the Pietrov's Mark 45, and then the Tempestus Scions is just a shitload of pistols. And no one uses them. They all use Refractor Field Generator in Tempestus Scions, which is a 5-up inborn. It's like... Yeah, so I don't know. There doesn't need to be...
It's a 5-up inborn save whilst within the 6 inches.
Yeah. Which is great. But there doesn't need to be 5 different fucking relic pistols in the Imperial Guard Codex. No. There's enough relics as there is. Just, like, snip it down to, like, 1, maybe 2. Like, a plasma pistol and a bolt pistol.
I think they're expecting all the company commanders to have a bolt pistol.
Yeah. It's weird.
I mean,
one of them is...
Even that, the Emperor's Fury, which is the 43rd Iron Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a specific regiment. In fact, the Iron Dragons, I'm sure... Tempestus
Yeah, they are.
Scions.
Yeah.
So pistol threes. I mean, yeah, it's great if you're going to run the 43rd item dragons, but it's too specific.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
I think that's
specific,
the
and it's
problem.
costing you a relic that you could otherwise use.
Yeah,
Uh,
on
Anything
a
else?
tank.
Laurels of Command, Kurov's Aquila.
Yeah,
Redeploy with your Dagger of Tusak. It just bizarre how many pistol relics they have. So the only complaint I have on the relic side of things is get rid of half of the pistols and just have one. And I feel like the Imperial Guard don't need anything else. They've already got a nice
yeah.
range of stuff.
I think the only one that I quite like looking at these is again, and it boils down if you're running scions as a like in the full science army, is the distraction
Oh
charges.
yes, the Capic Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So models when resolved in Overwatch attack made by friendly eagles, model within 3 of a model with its relic. That attack scores a hit, the target is slowed until the end of the
yeah,
phase. When a charge roll is made for a slowed, halve the result
yeah,
rounding
and
up.
that is
Yeah.
amazing in ninth for denying that sort of central control slingshotting up the board, because one of the strongest stratagems for Adeptus Custodes is Tanglefoot Grenade, which is half roll a dice and remove that from their charge. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
I do like that. And I
Yeah.
think that would actually blend quite well is if you're going to go with the aggressive high up assault, what we were talking about earlier with the grab shoot and the surge.
Yes.
So you get the warlord and 2 squads, and you castle up in the enemy's face, or
Yeah.
even be if you've got the opportunity behind their lines with that, and then because you guys are getting out the shooting, they are still susceptible to being charged. So if you can, drop that on them, and you forestall those charges for into turn, if you're going with the turn 1 alpha strike or a
Yeah.
turn 2 strike, and then that's taking it into turn 2, turn 3 before they get in there, it's given the rest of your army the opportunity to move up.
Yeah.
I do like that one. I do. I think that, yeah. But again, it is very specific.
Yeah. Which is
But I
fine.
think that's like one of the strongest out of the bad bunch, in my opinion.
Yeah. Moving on to vehicle war gear. Now, there's not too much of this. We're talking track guards, dozer blade, and auger array or eye
Yeah.
array. Auger array, whatever you want to call it. I think that's fine. It's useful when you've got like manticores or hunter killer missiles that you want to reroll. Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Dozer blade and track guards. Have you ever taken them?
I have taken track guards.
Yeah.
Very situational though.
I feel like track guards really ought to just allow the vehicle to ignore a bit more of the bracket system rather than
Yeah.
just movement. I feel like even if you have to increase their points, letting them retain their like ballistic skill or something with track guards would be a little bit more of a quality of life. Just to make them a bit more viable. And the dozer blade, all it does is give you +1 to hit in melee, right?
Yeah.
And that's only
I
if it
think
charges.
exactly. I think I'd like to see. Honestly, I'd like to see if you leave the trap guards in the sense that they only affect movement, but I think they need to give you a +1 to toughness.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you can then manage the trap guards and the dozer blade with points. And I
Yeah.
think it's fair to say if they have trap guards and dozer blade, then it's +2 to toughness. And I
Ooh,
think
that would put a
you
Lehman Russ at T10.
it would, but I think if you increase the points appropriately, because then I think it would be so many points for one and so many
Yeah.
points for the other.
But I think
You know what I mean?
T8 to T9 makes a difference, but T9 to T10 makes zero difference to anything.
Mm,
So I don't think it would make sense because it wouldn't actually make a difference to anything. The one thing I would like to see with the Dozer Blade is instead of just giving it +1 to attacks when it charges, I think it should give it +2 to its weapon skill, so it's hitting on 4s instead of 6s, and it should give the tank an actual weapon profile.
do you?
Yeah, it's a
The
fucking
big,
Dozer Blade.
yeah, but if a tank's going to run towards you, does it make any difference whether it's got a big sheet of metal attached to it?
Well, it makes sense.
If you're a human being and a tank is
Yeah, but
charging
that's
you,
the problem, though, isn't it?
if
When
you
you
don't
drive
get out
over
of
a
the way,
space marine with a tank, it should crush them, but it doesn't because it's got no AP in game on tabletop. So when you attack us, if you drive over a space marine in a tank, it does nothing.
right,
But with a Dozer Blade, I feel like it should actually get some AP. It doesn't have to do any more damage, just gives it +2 weapon skill, so it actually hits when you charge with it. And actually gives it like -1 AP, just to give it
right.
a reason to exist. Because right now, all it does is +1 to its weapon skill, which is 5 up, when it charges for like 10 points. What's the point?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we say trap guards gives you +1 toughness,
Yeah.
and Dozer Blade gives you +1 AP, or what? Or +2 AP?
I think +1 is fine, and +1 to its weapon skill, or +2 to its weapon skill, so it actually hits in melee or slightly more reliably, because obviously tanks only hit on 6s.
Right. Okay.
No.
I see. I'd be more inclined to go the other way, which is the old Dozer Blades would give you ignore terrain.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about
I'd like to go that way.
that. Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Allow them to drive through breachable terrain as if they were infantry.
Yeah. And the only problem with that, if they do that, is people are going to say, "What about Vindicators?" Because Vindicators can have demolishing siege cannon. You know what I'm on about, don't you?
Yeah.
And I would say give them the same thing and then just FAQ it.
Yeah.
But then you affect the two codexes. But yes, I'd much rather see
Yes, I
ignore.
agree.
I'd much rather see the doors of trap. The trap guards giving them +1 to
Toughness.
their either their save or their
Yeah.
strength, their toughness. Sorry,
And
either plus
ignore
one
the
strength,
movement
or,
thing on their
yeah,
win track.
or
Yeah.
plus yeah, ignore the movement and +1 strength. And then I think I'd like to see the dozer blade more along the lines of just what a dozer blade is for, which is
Yeah.
smashing through walls.
Yeah.
Um,
Treats
in fact,
breachable
do you know
terrain
what?
as their infantry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fair
And
enough. I like
then
that.
if you want to do because they're hitting on sixes anyway, you could say like you said, if they're hitting on sixes anyway, give them +1 AP.
Yeah.
For the big spikes at going into them. If they manage to hit them with it, it's going to hurt. So
Yeah.
yeah, give them +1 AP and treat breachable as infantry. So then you finally give your tanks options of actually driving through walls as opposed to up and over them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I
In
think
that case,
that is a mechanic that is seriously broken.
yeah.
I just yeah, it just frustrates me.
Yeah.
I can understand. I can understand why they won't let bikes go up and up and sit on top of buildings and stuff like that. I totally understand that. But the thought of a 3 inch high but a third of an inch thick wall and a Lehman Russ, which has like 80 times the mass can't go through it. It has to kind of drive up and over it.
Yeah.
It's just mental.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that's a good quality of life change. Last bit of war gear then. Voxcasters is something I wanted to talk about because no one takes them, and they kind of don't really do anything at the moment except increase the range on command stuff.
Yeah.
And the one thing I was thinking was, maybe this is overpowered, I don't know. If a Voxcaster is... So if every squad is equipped with a Voxcaster, and they're all within like 9 inches of each other, then if a company commander issues an order to one of them, it affects all of them within 9 inches. Because at the moment, it just allows him to order stuff at an extended range. But I feel like an actual Voxcaster system, the whole point of it is that it's everyone communicating to everyone. So I feel like if a unit's equipped with a Voxcaster, it should be able to get the same orders from other squads.
I think the danger is that when you combine it with the ability to issue 2 orders per squad.
That's on a 4-up though. And again, it's guardsman.
Yeah, but if you do that, you kind of negate, in theory, heroes advocate, just to play devil's advocate. If you do that, you kind of nerf the mechanized, because potentially guardsmen on foot, there's a whole army could be moving so quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that's true.
4 up is 50% of the time. And if you've got 10 squads of 10 men, or potentially, when you factor in what we talked about earlier with 20-man squads, and then they, move. So they're going 6 plus say 3, so they're going 9 inches. That's a big wave of.
Yeah.
That is literally.
What would you do with Voxcasters?
That's borderline green tide.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, vodcasters. So at the minute they can issue orders on a 4-up.
No, so at the minute, all Voxcasters do is allow a company commander to issue an order to a unit that is within Vox range and also has a Voxcaster. So let's say you've got a company commander next to an infantry squad. That infantry squad's got a Voxcaster in it. If there's then a second infantry squad within 6 or 9 inches of that other squad, the commander can then issue an order to them without having to be within 3 inches of them. So he doesn't get to issue any extra orders, and he doesn't get to issue the same order to both squads without using both of his orders.
How many points is a Voxcaster?
5 points, I want to say.
Right.
Oh, it basically makes the voice of command 18 inches as long as the target also contains a Voxcaster. So the officer's got to be next to a unit that's got one, and the target unit also has to have one. So it's costing you 10 points to increase an officer's order range to 18 inches.
Now, see, I think that has an element of strength in itself, in the sense that you can keep your command squad or your commander behind cover while the god squads are in the open. But all right, if you wanted to completely change it up, double the points, so say 10 points or even maybe 15 points, unlimited range, and give them go for issuing orders on a 4+ or 3+.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that would completely break the game.
No.
And it would certainly make sense for things like your Tempest Scions. I would keep it to guard squads.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let it allow put it on things like Bulgrins
No, definitely not.
or Bulgrins, unless they say, for example, had like commissar attached to them. Maybe just put a caveat like that in, or a preacher. I would keep with the infantry squads. Do you know what I honestly foresee? Thinking about it, I think a Voxcaster might become an individual model, a character model.
Oh yeah, but it doesn't take up a slot.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe like a
And
four
then
sword slot.
have that, but have them as character models. So you have to protect them.
Yeah.
You know, the aura separate thing, much like a bit like a standard bearer, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's an actual thing that can be removed by your opponent.
Yes, and deny them the ability if
Yeah.
you're cute about it, or if you know the squad's almost down and out. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because much like in real life, I suppose if a squad's, you know, once the squad gets down to a third of its strength, regardless of whether it's got the Voxcaster or not, it becomes kind of, you know,
Yeah.
below battlefield efficiency. Yeah, I would make Voxcaster as a standalone unit, and I would do what I said earlier, which is basically if you have a Voxcaster within 3 inches of your command, and then 3 inches within any infantry squad, then it's +1 to roll on the orders.
Yeah.
And then what it also does is, if you do that, you can be a bit cute, so you can have your Voxcasters running between squads. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can have 2 infantry squads, and one. The idea is you might run one Voxcaster between 2 infantry squads.
Yeah.
And this time you plan on, okay, so turn 2 he's going to be with that. By turn 3 he'll be back with that squad. If that squad, lose, say, I don't know, 8 out of 10 men, then the next time I'm sure I'm going to be running my Voxcaster to try and save me Voxcaster. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see that, actually.
Makes it more interactable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that
is just a thought off the fly, but actually,
yeah.
I'm really, without blowing me on trumpet, I quite do like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Voxcasters that don't take up a slot. They cost X amount of points, and you can put them wherever you want.
Yeah, and it gives you a chance to issue an extra order on a 4-up.
Yeah, on a +1 to issue
another squad. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's war gear. So one thing I'd briefly like to touch on is the sad loss which took Imperial Guard from a decent army to a garbage army, which was the Vigilus Defiant rules. So Vigilus Defiant was like a little supplement in 8th edition which gave the Imperial Guard the option to give a detachment an additional specialist detachment quality sort of thing. So you had the Emperor's Blade Assault Company, which was basically turn this singular detachment, so it's still Catachan or whatever you want, but it also gets this very special thing that gives you access to a couple of stratagems and a warlord trait and an heirloom.
Yeah.
So you had the Emperor's Blade, you had the Emperor's Conclave, which was the characters, and then you had Emperor's Fist Tank Company, which gave you an option for a really awesome battle cannon and some stratagems, and Emperor's Wrath Artillery, which gave you Pounding Barrage, which let you shoot twice with a Basilisk, which was cool, and it gave your Lord of Ordnance Warlord trait. And these made Imperial Guard good. And then 9th edition came out, and they said you're not allowed to use Vigilus anymore. And I was like, oh, thanks for releasing this book 3 months before 9th edition and then making it unplayable.
Yeah.
And I thought those rules were great, so I'd like to see those re-added.
Imagined.
Just as an option.
No, I agree. Complete piss take.
I mean, it all
Like you said,
costs CP. All of it does. And
yeah.
it gives you extra
Between 1 and
rules.
2.
So, I don't know. It just doesn't seem unreasonable to me. Someone had
Totally
to
agree,
write
mate.
all these
I think
rules, so
totally agree. A great way of having some flavour.
exactly,
It's
yeah,
complete way. Um, like I say, honestly, couldn't agree more.
yeah. And it's
Don't
basically
think
like an
it
army
would,
renown, isn't it?
yeah, don't think it would unbalance the armies at all. Don't think it would knock them out the skew. You know, like you say, pay CP, which is a premium.
Yeah, make it an
You
army of
know,
renown, so you're not allowed to take certain units within that detachment. So you've got to take a certain amount of some things, and you're not allowed to take such and such. So if you're playing an Emperor's Fist artillery company, it's got to include at least 3 pieces of artillery, and it's not allowed to include chimeras or whatever.
yeah. Well, the thing is, even if it included chimeras, it wouldn't affect chimeras,
Well,
would
no,
it?
exactly, yeah.
So
But it would
that's what I'm
force you to take a
saying.
separate detachment so that you could get the chimera you wanted. So it balances itself.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. Uh-huh.
I don't
But I mean, a smart player would just run it as say, oh, sorry, what's the heavy support detachment?
know. Spearhead.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you would just run a spearhead attachment and then pay a CP, much like you pay an extra CP for an extra warlord trait.
Yep.
Pay a CP to give it that. I mean, you might even have to pay 2 CP, so you weren't constantly running, detachment A with, that detachment B with Ollie Lehman Russ
Yeah.
runs that, and don't make it an auto include. So, like I say, make it viable, but at the same time, don't make it spammable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, or even if you just limit and just say you can only have one of these detachments per army.
Yeah, that would make sense. That seems fair.
So you either, yeah, I think that would be more fair. Say, okay, or you out of the 3 or 4, you just say you can have a maximum of 2.
I would
Do you know
leave
what
it
I
to
mean?
1. I would definitely leave it to 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if you say 2, it takes up all of your command points. So you just make it not viable. So you
Yeah,
say
exactly.
one is 3 command points, 2 is 10 command points.
I would just limit it to 1. Just don't even give them the option. Just say, look, you can specialize 1 detachment into this 1 army of renown. Pick 1.
Yeah.
And that pretty much covers all of the back end rules, which only leaves us now for units basically. So I've got a few bullet points for a few units, but is there any units in particular in the Codex that you'd like to see improved or adjusted to make them a little bit more either competitively viable or a little bit closer to what they should be in the fluff?
I think kind of what we've already touched on together.
Yeah, commissars. Commissars.
Psychers.
I think commissars should cause D3 mortal wounds and let you auto pass morale instead of re-rolling morale.
I think D3 is a bit heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's an auto pass morale. You can see how strong that was in our game. Just kill 1. Just instantly execute 1 model for an auto pass.
No, I think going back, and I don't know if this is 7th or 8th. I think auto kill the highest leadership model.
Yeah. Oh, the sergeant. Yeah.
So it would either be the sergeant, or if you decided that if you were really stupid and stuck a commissar with your company commander. You know what I mean? Like, but then again,
you have failed this army. Blam! There goes your.
That that was the beauty of the Commissar way back when. Um, and it was because I think company commanders had like leadership 9
Yeah.
and guard sergeants had leadership 7.
Yes.
So, you would expect your company commander to, pass morale. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, company commanders aren't infallible in the guard, and the commissar is infallible.
Yep.
And if he fails his morale, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Commissar's gonna put a bolt between his eyes, just like you would anybody else.
Okay. So auto kill the nearest highest leadership unit, the non-vehicle unit. So if there's a squad next to you that's about to fail morale, and there happens to be, say, a psyker or a Bulgrin or a priest, minister and priest, or a company commander, you execute them, and that unit doesn't fail morale.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I like that. That's fluffy and also makes it commissars a bit more viable in the game. Because the re-rolling leadership is just bad.
Yeah.
Um,
And actually, I would even go as far as to say, would I or would I not? No, I would. I would say give you the option of a Commissar, Lehman Russ, or Chimera, or Taurox, and I would say the same rule applied.
yeah.
So the Commissar, you give the Commissar the Commissar rules, and the same thing. And if they're in a Taurox, I would say either the highest leadership model, including Tauroxes. If they are in a Chimera, I would say the highest leadership model, including Tauroxes and Chimeras, and Hellhounds. And I would say if they were at a Lehman Russ, I would say including Lehman Russ commanders, or Taurox commanders, Chimera commanders, and Hellhound
That would be
commanders.
rough.
It would, but if you think about it, if they are ballistic skills, say 3 up,
Yeah.
leadership 10, you're offsetting that against, you could potentially have 2 or 3 good rounds
Yeah.
with them, and you run the risk of, if your other guys break, then you ain't taking no shit.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It would make you think twice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It would
yeah.
make you, because at the same time, it would make you really, really want to include,
Yeah.
your Commissar Tank Commander.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you'd be like, right, well, I'm including him, but I'm only including him because I didn't put any other tanks
Yeah.
around him.
On a similar vein, I think the Primaris Psyker needs to be able to cast 2 powers instead of 1. Because at the moment, everyone just takes an Astropath, and because the Primaris Psyker costs twice as much, he knows 2 powers, but he doesn't cast 2. I feel like he should be able to cast 2. That's my only change I'd put on him.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
As far as units go, just sort of looking over the Codex, the few notes I made were the Lehman Russ profiles probably need to be changed because some of them are just terrible. So the main ones that people used are obviously the battle cannon, which has been sort of overshadowed by the demolisher cannon. I feel like the demolisher cannon's probably going to take a nerf soon. And the battle cannon's absolutely fine as it is. But then you've got... Oh, and the plasma. The plasma's absolutely fine as well. I like the plasma. But then you've got like... You got the Eradicator, which only has like 2 shots, which is bizarre. There's the Exterminator.
What is it? What does the new Sisters of Battle Auto Cannon have?
Oh, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
So I think the Lehman Russ needs to be brought more in line with that.
Yeah. And it's got so many different models, like the Eradicator, the Exterminator autocannon. The Exterminator autocannon is literally just an autocannon. And that's it. Like, why would you want an
One
autocannon
barrel.
on a Lehman Russ?
Well, exactly.
It
You
just
know,
doesn't make any sense. It needs more shots, or the profile needs better. And the Vanquisher, oh god, yeah, it shoots
the
like
Vanquish
once, and that's it.
used to be awesome.
Yeah,
The Vanquish used to be absolutely awesome. Um,
I feel like they need to dictate very clear roles with the different weapon options for the Lehman Russes,
yeah,
and make them good at those roles. So you've got your battle
I
cannon,
think
which is your generic all takers. You've got your eradicator, which is, either buff the strength or buff the shots.
yeah,
The auto cannon probably needs more shots if it's just an auto cannon. The Vanquisher needs to actually fucking kill tanks rather than just
yeah,
one shot at strength 10, because if you're hitting on a 4, one shot, oh, I paid 160 points for this model, I shoot it, oh, it missed.
yeah.
Okay. And the other thing that I foresee is Lehman Russes losing double shots.
See, no, I think that would be a shame. Right. So one at a time. So at the minute, demolishers are obviously the king dingling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only reason demolishers are the king dingling is because the board shrank
Yes. Yeah.
and the range on those weapons hasn't adjusted accordingly.
Yeah.
I think at one point, obviously, the Bogstand and Lemurus battle tank was, it was a solid choice. It was just a good all rounder.
Yeah.
Um, like I say, I think the Demolisher has only become more prevalent because the size of the boards decreased. So
Yeah.
if you decrease the size of the Demolisher cannon, then that becomes appropriate. Much like the Vindicators on Space Marines, they are probably one of the best tanks point for point, because they have a Demolisher siege cannon.
Yeah.
Um, So, like I say, the autocannon variant just needs more shots. I don't think you don't need to necessarily touch the strength or AP. It's an autocannon.
Yep.
Autocannons aren't,
It should be cheap.
they're nothing. Yeah, and they're nothing to be sniffed at. You know, they're all right. I think, like you say, with that, it used to be a twin linked autocannon because it's
Yeah.
got two barrels, and I think at the minute it's just running on a single autocannon barrel profile. So you either need to double the amount of shots or give you a reroll,
Yeah.
or possibly both, actually, for the points that it is at the minute.
Mm.
Um,
The
the
Vanquisher.
Vanquisher.
Oh,
The Vanquisher is the tank destroyer.
yeah. It needs another shot at least. Currently, it's heavy 1, I think. It needs to be heavy 2. Jesus Lord.
And within a squad, you normally used to run, because the thing is now, obviously, a squad can split fire.
Yeah.
So you'd run a squad of 3, and you make your tank commander and the Vanquisher with the +1 ballistic skill,
Yeah.
and then 2 Bogstander Lemurs battle cannons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you would split your fire. I think as long as they keep it split fire rules, I don't. You maybe see, because like you say, the difference between strength 9 and strength 10 is negligible.
Nothing. Yeah.
So, I mean, strength 12, toughness 7. I'd be tempted to actually make it. What's the high strength at the minute?
I think the highest strength on the Lehman Russ tanks is strength 10 with the Demolisher. Let me check.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, the Vanquisher is higher, isn't it? So the Vanquisher is heavy 1. Oh, it's only strength 8. Oh, my God. That's terrible. Okay, so it's strength 8 minus 3 d6, but you roll 2 dice for the damage. Right, I want to see the Vanquisher go to strength 16. And that's it. 16 minus 3. D6, roll 2 dice, keep the highest. It should
Yeah.
wound fucking everything on 2s.
Threes.
Yeah? So what would you do? Make it strength 14 instead?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Strength 14, AP minus
You
3,
either make a strength 16 and D6 damage, or you make a strength 14.
and roll 2d6, pick the highest damage.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. I can work with that.
Honestly, because otherwise it's like you say, when it's just, I know it is a tank hunter, but at the same time, you've got to think if somebody rocks up I think you've got to make the points appropriate as well, because you want to make it kind of like a big chunk of your army if you're going to rock up with 3 of those things.
It's only one shot, though. One shot to do 6 damage if
Yeah.
you're lucky. Hitting on 3s, so it's, 0.6% chance. 60% chance of actually hitting. 75% chance of wounding for D6 damage. It's not much.
Okay, well, why don't you say D6 plus 3?
Oh, like a melter. Yeah. It's difficult to balance these tank hunters because you don't want them to one-shot things, but you also don't want them to... You want them to matter.
Well, exactly, and if you've got to think, you've got to run 3 of them.
Yeah.
Because you can run 3 up in the squad.
Yeah.
So how many wounds does a knight got?
24. Some of them have 26, some of them have 30. So at most, if you got extremely lucky and you actually hit with everything, and wounded with everything, and dealt the maximum damage, you would only just one-shot a knight with 3 vanquishers that cost about 170 points. So that's 450, which is about the same cost as a knight. And that's if you got everything hit, everything wounded, and nothing got saved with the Inborn.
And that's D6 plus 3.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. So that's the Lehman Russ put to rights. But I do think, because Games Workshop are removing shoot twice from everything. The Repulsors lost shoot twice. Everything lost shoot twice. They got rid of stratagems to fight twice, except with very specific units. So I think shooting twice is probably going to disappear from Lehman Russes. So I think they either need to do one or two things: make the Lehman Russes cheaper, improve their ballistic skill, or just double the number of shots on all the weapon profiles, or increase the number of shots by 50% or something. Like 3d3 instead of 2d6.
Yeah. Or just make it fixed.
Yeah, well, no, they're going to make it blast. Guaranteed they'll make them blast, so you can't shoot in melee.
Yeah.
For a lot of them anyway. So something's going to have to give once the double shot goes. Either it's cheaper or they get more shots in some variant. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Baneblade variants. They're pretty much the same as Lehman Russ. They've got the same issues as Lehman Russ's. There's like 8 or 10 variants if you include the Forge World ones. A lot of them have very similar weapon profiles, just minor tweaks here and there.
And they can be war and
I think the main issue with Baneblades is they die so easily. I think there's, to start off being reasonable, I think they should get either -1 damage like Dreadnoughts. They should get like an Invuln or a Feel No Pain. So either -1, Invuln, or Feel No Pain. I don't know which. I think they should only get one because they shouldn't be fucking indestructible. And obviously there's going to be players that will be playing them on kitchen table Warhammer, so you don't want to make them too offensive for casual play. But they do need some kind of I don't automatically die to Plasma Inceptors thing.
Yeah. Which is... I think maybe...
Or do you make them toughness 9? That golden
No,
toughness 9 that's only seen on 2 models in the entire game.
those models being.
The Nurgle demon, exotic demon thing,
Mm-hmm.
the big fat man, and the
Yeah.
Mastodon Forge World troop carrier for Space Marines and Chaos Marines. The gigantic fucking transport that can
Yeah.
transport 40 troops. That's T9.
No. No, they're not T9 worthy.
No?
T8.
Yeah. They need some durability, some way of increasing their durability.
Honestly, I would say -1 to damage and then a 6-up feel no pain.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like a
Yeah.
what do you call it? The machine spirit thing that some of the
Power of the machine spirit, yeah.
yeah, where they get
So I'll give them,
6-up feel no
yeah,
pain.
no. And well, power of the machine spirit at the minute allows them to shoot one weapon regardless of bracket.
Oh, okay.
So I would actually say, yeah, I would give them. I would do that. I would do all three. Power of the
-1.
machine spirit,
Yeah.
because let's be honest, Baneblades are Baneblades. They're very ancient machines. So
Yeah.
why couldn't they have power of the machine spirit? Power of the machine spirit. Yeah,
-1 damage.
T8 -1 damage
And a
and a
6-up
6-up
feel no pain.
and a 6-up fail nothing.
Yeah, that's fair enough. One thing I
Yeah.
would kind of like, and you might disagree, is I would kind of like it if you could make a Baneblade a Warlord and just
No, it's all good.
have like a selection of 1 or 2 or 3 Warlord traits that are Baneblade specific.
Yeah, much like Lehman Russ.
Yeah. So, because in the lore, if you've ever read the book Baneblade and Shadow Sword, they're pretty sort of iconic, and they do have like actual commanders in them issuing orders to other tanks and Baneblades and stuff.
Well, it goes back to my Commissar thing. Yarick had a Baneblade of his own.
Yeah. So I feel like they should A, be able to take or become a warlord, and B, they should have like a small selection of warlord traits. Like one of them is like I don't know, a 2-up save instead of a 3-up save. One of them allows them to issue orders to other tanks as if they were a Lehman Russ tank commander. Just simple little things, little fluffy things that, you know, maybe aren't competitive but are interesting.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head with regards to Tank Commander. I think if you gave them the option to be able to issue orders
But
or
not to
tank
themselves.
orders, Lehman Russes can. And right, so I would say you'd be able to issue the orders to yourself, but you could never issue orders to another Baneblade.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
That's fair enough, yeah.
So you can issue orders to yourself or any other tank. So Lehman Russ,
yeah.
Hellhound, or Chimera as a tank commander would. You can't do it yourself. So you have tank commander in that respect. I would then, as another warlord trait, I would give them something like inspiring.
Yeah.
So any unit within
6
to somewhere between 6 and 10 inches, any unit within 6 and 10 unit, as no
uses their leadership.
Uses their leadership or +1 to leadership.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that, some aura like that, some leadership aura, put it that way. I'm not going to be too specific, but yeah, a leadership buff. Then you've got a tank commander buff. And I'm trying to think of a third. So you've got leadership, you've got a tank commander.
I mean, we don't have to give specifics. It's
I
the
kind of like
idea.
to think. I kind of like to think of something along the lines of maybe giving them a lumber and behemoth. So regardless of how many wounds they went down to, they could just continue to shoot all of their weapons at top ballistic skill.
That's fine.
So their movement was reduced per bracket.
Yeah.
but regardless of their movement,
They're still hitting
or
on
even if you
fours.
just, or even if you just said they couldn't, they could never move their top bracket to start with
Yeah.
because the machine spirit was just a slow and steady advance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or say there's another one, they wouldn't get -1 to shoot them, would they?
No.
Um, yeah, I would probably say something along the lines of they never get the top bracket of movement. They always start on the middle bracket, but the middle bracket stays the same for the top
Forever.
bracket and
Yeah.
the middle bracket. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, they can still go down to the bottom bracket.
Yeah.
They don't have any minuses for shooting, but then if they are attacked in close combat, you give them -1 to their weapon skill.
They're already 6 at weapon skill.
Are they? All
Yeah.
right, okay.
No, that's
Well,
fair. I think we've set the bar reasonable. The other thing I want to talk about is the death strike. Are you happy with how it is, or would you like it to be a bit more?
bring on the memes.
Yeah. See, I love the concept of the hour is nigh, and I
Yeah,
love
I
the
do
idea of the
too.
death strike, but I feel like people only bring them for memes, not even for fluff. Like they just bring them because it's funny, and
Yeah.
most of the time they do nothing. I feel like if they
Oh, mine
just
did nothing that one time I brought
yeah,
them
I
on,
feel
did it?
like if they just adjusted the hour is nigh by +1,
Yeah,
that would tip them
that will
over
make the viral. Yeah. Um,
just one turn earlier. Because it's not
yeah,
like when they
because if
go
you,
off, they
if you, if you,
absolutely devastate the fucking battlefield.
but they should, that's the point.
Yeah,
Like, I want to say they should be able to go off a turn earlier so they can effectively deny your opponent that turn, that last turn primary objective grab.
yeah. And it
So
does D6 mortals to every unit in like 9 inches or something.
no, because that wouldn't clear them off. Like, honestly, like I'd like to see it be to go, believe it or not, right, to
You want
go
a
up in point.
tactical nuke that deals mortals
I
to every
which is
unit in a
what
squad.
it's supposed to
Yeah.
be.
But at that
So I'd
point, how
like
much
to
does it
see it be
cost?
quite. I like to see it quite pricey. Maybe because at the end of the day, you can if you bring it down a turn, right? So in theory, it goes off regardless turn 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of save it to not bring it on the board until turn 3 anyway.
Yeah.
In which case, it's only going to sit there for a turn, and then it goes off regardless. Or you run the risk of it sitting there sooner, out of line of sight. You know, hoping the opponent hasn't got any barrage, and it goes off sooner.
Yeah.
If it goes off sooner, your opponent has time to adjust if that 1 or 2 units were sitting on objective that you've completely wiped them off.
Yeah.
And late in the game, it kind of costs them to be kind of stacking up on one particular objective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So I'd quite like to see something along the lines of it goes off on turn 4 regardless.
Yeah.
It this is hard.
It goes off
But I
turn 4
want
regardless.
and I
And
want and I kind of want it to affect no matter how many units or models you stick on that objective, it has the potential to wipe the lot.
so so just to put it out there. So an objective is
Um,
6 inches plus 40 mil in diameter.
yeah,
So how
yeah.
about every model in every unit within 3 inches of an objective marker on a 2 up? it takes D3 mortal wounds or something. So it has a tiny chance not to do it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna do mortals to everything on that objective.
Yeah. I mean, most, yeah, three, well, yeah. Or not even mortal wounds. Even if it's something ridiculous, so you still get invul saves.
Still get save.
So,
3 wounds then.
yeah.
Just does 3 wounds on a 2-up. Does 3 wounds to every model within 3 inches of an objective, and they get to roll a save.
Or even like, so hang on. So 3 inches. So the objective, and like you said, it's a what size blast? The objectives are within 6 inches. Yeah.
So the objective has 3 inches around it. So if you pick an objective, then every model within not 6. Sorry, every model within 3 inches of the objective.
We don't say the objective. You either pick an objective or a model.
Yeah, and then everything within 3 inches. Every unit, every model. Sorry, no, every unit within 3 inches. You roll
every unit within. Yeah.
You roll a dice for each. You
either pick a model or you pick an objective, and then any unit within 3 inches. So even if you like, you've got like a 10-man squad with one model half an inch over it, still affects all 10 models.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you roll a dice for every model.
And you roll a dice for every single model.
And on a 2-up, it takes 3 wounds that it can save.
It takes 3 wounds. Yeah.
Fair enough. We fixed it.
And
we did it.
The only way you can thingy against it is invul saves.
Yeah. So it's AP -5.
Yeah.
But it auto wounds or on those 2-ups. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's strength whatever guarantees you a 2-up regardless. Strength whatever 20.
Yeah.
Strength 20, D3. Yeah. Strength 23 damage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, but you do, you make them something daft like what? I don't know, right?
300 points or something. I don't know.
Nah, because then you've got nothing left.
You want to do 3 wounds to everything on an objective.
No, I think honestly,
for
right?
Less than 300 points.
I genuinely think about 250 per death.
We're gonna test this. We'll test it.
We need him. We need him. So 250 points a model.
Only shoots once. Auto shoots on turn 4.
Auto shoots on turn 4. Only shoots once. 250 points. So if you run 3, that's 750 points. Which, yeah.
Dear.
275, 550, 725. Yeah. See, a squad of 3 costs 725.
Okay.
Plus, if you want to upgrade them with command points and all of that guff.
Okay.
That's 725 for 3 base. No, you can't do 725, can you?
It's all right. I think we've got
we know where we're at. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest. Nobody's going to listen to us.
No.
In an ideal world, honestly, that's what I'd quite like.
It's fine. What we'll do is we'll take this profile and we'll use it in our Warhammer D&D campaign.
Yeah.
And then you can weep as all of your characters are destroyed by a death strike, or you've got to kill it before it shoots on turn 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be like a countdown.
However, it's only going to kill one person, isn't it? Because you're going to target one person, and the rest is just going to run
away. Yeah. And it'll be Tommy. Anyway, let's last few units, and then we're done.
Okay.
Master of Ordnance, he rerolls hit rolls of 1, but only if the target's 36 inches away. Obviously, the board size has got smaller, so I think his reroll 1's aura for artillery needs to be reduced.
Yep, agreed.
Ogrins/Bulgrins, their guns need to be made viable because they're a joke at the moment. I'm not really sure what I'd change them to.
Well,
at the moment they are 401 d6 shots 401. I would probably give them a spot of AP. And increase the range from 12 inches to like 18.
Yeah, 18-inch range. I mean, you've got to think the God's equivalent in Terminators.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe keep it at 12-inch range. 12-inch range, AP -2/1 damage, or possibly because of the Ripper guns and they're effectively big. You know, they're bigger than bolt shells.
Yeah.
So
flat 2 damage for the Ripper guns.
Yeah. So yeah, but they're not very accurate because they're Ogrins.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's even range.
I think the
10?
Ripper gun should be basically heavy bolters, but assault.
Right.
So 5 -1 2 instead of 501. So there's Ripper guns and there's the Grenadier gauntlets, right? So the Ripper guns are 12-inch, assault 3 501. I think they should increase the range to 18 inches and make them. No,
because Ogrins are notoriously bad shots.
Okay. So 12 inches,
like
assault 3, but change the profile from 501 to 5 -1 2.
I might even say 5. I might even say 10-inch range, 5 -2 2.
That's just awkward. 10-inch range. No, it's got to be 12. Got to be 12.
Right. Okay. Right. What's a heavy bolter? 5.
Heavy bolter is 48 inches or 36 inches. 5 -1 2 damage. But they only get 3 shots. This is assault 3. Heavy bolter's heavy 3.
Heavy 3. Right. So
I'd say 12 inches assault 3, strength 5, and it should be flat 2 damage. The size of the fucking shells in these guns is huge.
Yeah, but what they're hitting on? Ballistic skill?
4.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? 5 -1 2? Assault 3?
No, I'd say 5 -2 2, assault 3.
In melee, the Ripper gun gets -1 AP, which is totally fair. It's just a big bayonet in it.
Yeah.
The Grenadier gauntlet is, again, 12 inches, but D6 shots 401.
It does not blast.
It does have blast, yeah.
It does have blast.
Yeah.
So how do you make it different enough to the Ripper gun?
Well, it's lower strength. I would give it strength 4 -1 damage and keep it as 12-inch assault D6. So it's just a fragment.
But then you've got 2 anti-infantry guns. So what you do is you make the Ripper gun, the heavy bolter, anti-infantry, 2 damage.
But the Ripper gun is anti-elite because it's 5 -2 2, whereas the Grenadier gauntlet is anti-troop, which is 4 -1 1.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What did you think?
You're right.
What did you think to my Bulgrim Mauls? Are they fine as they are? Strength 7 -1 2 damage. Did they seem fine to you?
No, I'm making strength 8.
Really?
Yeah. These guys are supposed to be huge. They're clumsy, they're huge, and they hit heavy.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the thing is, they're clumsy enough with like weapon skill 4.
Yeah.
But they're not hitting all, they're only hitting half the time. But when they do hit, it's supposed to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay.
And but then again, what's a dreadnought? A dreadnought strength 8.
Yeah.
But then the dreadnought strength 8 and then it's +2 times 2.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, no, yeah, I'd make them strength 8.
8 minus 1, 2 damage.
Yeah.
Okay. That just leaves a couple more. So rattlings. The only change I'd make to rattlings personally is I would give them the generic sniper rule. So 6 is to wound, deal mortal wound. And I'd let them do the same as Space Marine infiltrators. I'd let them forward deploy, anywhere they wanted, 9 inches away from enemy deployment.
Yep. Either that or give them the aces, the snipers is in that can move, shoot, move.
Oh, they can already, I think.
Can they?
Shoot, sharpen, scarper. Immediately after making a shooting attack, this unit can move as if it were movement phase.
Right. Yeah.
And
Do
they do have forward deploy, but it's 18 inches away from the enemy deployment zone, which
but
is...
what's the range on their guns?
Pardon?
But then again, you don't need them any closer because of the range of the guns.
Yeah, but 18 inches away from the enemy deployment zone is in your deployment zone.
Ah, right, I'm with you.
It's enormous. It's like 24... I think the maximum distance you are away from an enemy is 24 inches.
All right, so reduce it down to 12.
Yeah.
Don't see
so their gun is 36 inches, heavy 1, 401. But and it already has the 6's inflict a mortal wound. Okay, so that's fine. The only thing I would change to them then is like a 9 or 12-inch forward deploy like scouts.
Yeah. I would say, honestly, I would say I wouldn't give them 9-inch because
12.
they'd be too scared. I would say 12-inch.
Okay, fair enough.
12-inch, but you still give them the move, shoot, move, and they are also, hard to hit.
Yeah. Officer of the Fleet, his abilities are hilariously terrible.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine right now.
I would change it so that once per game or once per turn or something like that, pick a unit on the battlefield and all of your flyers get +1 to hit against it or reroll 1s to hit against it. Simple as that.
Yep. And I think you need maybe one orbital bombardment or two.
Yes, yeah, like the Master of Ordnance.
Yep.
Yep, that's
because
fair
Master of the Fleet could be able to call down
orbital bombardment to a single unit or
yeah.
a point.
I get Master of Ordnance from the guns in the backfield.
Yep.
But Master of the Fleet should be able to probably bring down something. I'd make Master of the Fleet actually stronger than more points cost than Ordnance.
Yeah.
And give him the orbital bombardment, much like a chapter master can.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Hellhounds. What did you think when I played Hellhounds? I wasn't a fan.
I know you're not, and I don't know.
I think it's less an issue with the Hellhounds and more an issue with Flamers in 9th edition.
Yeah.
I think Flamers being 4 -1 1 or 5 -1 1 is just not cutting the mustard anymore against a very pushed bunch of codexes.
Yeah, I think, don't get us wrong, I think the Flamers still have their place. I think they're very situational in the sense of if you put them up against other guard or if you put them up against probably even Gene Stealers.
Yes.
They're going to wreak absolute havoc against anything else. I think you're going to want to run them as
Devil Dogs. Yeah.
Which is the Malta version.
Yeah.
I think the Bane Wolves, by the time you get them in range, they're already dead or they're going to then get charged the following turn.
Yeah.
I think overall... Yeah, I think all three need improving. Well, I say that no. I think 2 of them need improving. So you either keep the stats the way that they are, and you make the Hellhound and the Devil Dog much cheaper,
Yeah.
And I think the Beowulf isn't really in a bad place at the minute with it being Melter and Melter being quite strong at the minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, but no. Hellhound's the Flamer,
Yep.
Devil Dog
Is the
the
melter.
Melter, and Beowulf's the poison. Um,
Chem
that's
cannon,
the
yeah.
thing. Chem Cannon, that's it. So yeah, the Chem Cannon and the Hellhound need they need to reduce down in points if you're going to keep them the same profiles, just to make them more viable. So you run more of them. I mean, you maximum you can run them in squads of 3 anyway.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you're forking out for the cost of the kit in itself. Yeah. I think they've got a place. I think fast attack, and the thing is, you look at them and you think, "Oh, the tanks," and then the next thing you know, they're running 12 inches up the board without a problem.
Yeah. And then
With them being assault.
exploding.
Yeah, but the thing is, because the flamers are assault weapons, they can move, advance, and still shoot at
They're
-1.
not advanced. They're not. They're heavies. They're all heavy. Except the melter cannon, which is assault. This
Right.
is the
Well,
issue.
not the multi-belt is assault.
No, the melter cannon is assault. The multi-melter is heavy. The melter cannon on the devil dog is assault.
Right. Well, in that case, then. But I thought all tanks. Right. So in a previous edition, sorry, all tanks ignored the penalties for heavy weapons,
Oh yeah,
didn't
they
they?
do now, but they can't advance and fire them.
Well, then that's what you need to fix.
Yeah.
So you keep the stats the same. You make any weapon on a Hellhound an assault weapon.
Yeah.
So the melters become assault. The flamers become assault. Yeah, which means that you can then advance and shoot at -1.
Well, no, because they auto hit.
That's a good point. Well, there you go. There's your fix.
Yeah.
So the melters and the chem cannon advance and shoot at -1, and your Hellhound
Auto hit
auto hits.
and be assault.
Yeah. But then the Hellhounds become majorly OP, don't they?
Not really. Like I couldn't even kill a squad of Primaris intercessors, could I? It's
No.
only -1 AP. It's very little.
Yeah, they become situationally OP though, because if you're running against another guard squad,
Yeah, I
you,
guess. But well,
you're
they can
almost
take them.
in their deployment zone and torching them in their
Yeah.
deployment one. And it's the same with Gene Silicon. So, but then again, it becomes the rock paper scissors
Yep.
argument, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe you do that. You
Just
treat
make them all assault.
make them all assault, and then go for it.
Yeah. They're all pretty short range, so it's not too bad. Sentinels, I'm quite happy with. I like Sentinels as they are.
Yeah, Sentinels are in a good.
Chimeras are in a great spot. That
Yeah.
leaves us last bit is the flyer section.
Which we've already touched on.
Yeah, Valkyries are a bit fragile.
Yeah.
And they don't provide much shooting. So you either do one or two things. You either make them slightly better at shooting, which they shouldn't really because they're transports, or you make them a little bit more tough. I don't think they should be T8.
No.
Because they're flyers. I think maybe they just need like Ramshackle or something. I don't know.
No. Ramshackle's an OP thing.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
The two big and boxy, the Jink,
Yeah.
give them a 6-up invul.
Yeah.
I know I keep throwing a 6-up invul out there, but I think there is genuine merit to it. And I think if you give them, you know, a 6-up invul, or maybe it's even a 5-up invul, just for the fact that the big heavy boxers, plenty of armor on them, they're expected to get shoot. They're not exactly known for being nimble.
Well, if you want them to be tanky representative of their armor, surely you would just increase their armor save to like 2 up instead of 3 up. or give them -1 damage like a dreadnought, to say their armor is so thick and dense that even if they do get
Yeah,
shot at, they don't quite take quite as much damage.
yeah, yeah. I think you called that one. Yeah, -1 damage.
Um, and that just leaves two other things. So there's the fighters, of which there is 3 or 4 or 5, like the Vulture and the Avenger. They have, I know Imperial Guard are supposed to have ballistic skill 4 up, but I feel like their fighters should be like ballistic skill 3, because like
And
our
then you put them
RAF,
on.
they're highly trained.
Yeah, but then you put them on par with the Space Marine.
Yeah, because at the moment they're fragile, they're fast, and they're not terribly decent at killing anything.
Right. So what you do is with the fighters, you possibly, I know they're the same chassis, but you've kind of go with us on this. So because the fighters are not transports, they're going to be lighter armored.
Yeah.
So you maybe give them something like Jink.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, they've already got -1 to hit.
you don't want but that's the thing. You want them maybe just not necessarily as agile as say Eldar flyers, but you want them. You want to trade. That's why I'm thinking Jink, because you kind of then trading off the idea of the armor with the nimbleness.
Yeah. You know what I'd like to see?
What's that?
You know how aircraft turn and then go 20 inches or 60?
Yeah,
I'd like them to be able to do 2 turns.
well, that's what the Eldar do, isn't it? For being really nimble.
Yeah. So turn up to 90 degrees when they start, and then at any point halfway through their move, they can turn another 90 degrees.
Right. But
So
then you
they're.
put that again just to play devil's advocate. And I'm not doing this to be awkward. I'm just thinking, right? So you've got Eldar at one end of the scale.
Yeah.
You've got Space Marines with the Stormhawk interceptors
Yeah.
at the other, and you've got the Valkyrie somewhere in between. Or you've got not the Valkyrie. Because the Stormhawk interceptors are just supposed to be just that. They're like kind of like the fighters. You can't bring them on a ballistic skill in par with Space Marines.
Yeah.
You can't.
They can't move as good as Eldar.
They can't move as good as Eldar. Which is right. You're in a bad spot.
There's always the option of giving them like a, how some orc vehicles have grot gunners on specific weapons. You could make it so that a specific weapon has +1 to hit when it targets vehicles, or if they shoot all of their weapons at the same target, they get +1 to hit.
Yeah.
That's one of the orc
Well,
rules for some of their planes.
you kind of leave them in the same spot as Valkyries, but they just because of that troop transport, they're getting better ballistic,
Yeah.
not necessarily ballistic skill, but if they do something specific, they
Yeah.
get like overwhelming firepower or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say that. That would make sense. That's a happy medium.
Yeah. And then that leaves us with the very final unit, which no one ever talks about, is the 2 Lord of War flyers. The B-52 and the.
Yeah.
So it's a Marauder and. Fuck, I can't remember what the other one's called.
Not Marauder. Marauder bomber and I was going to say Zyphon, but it's not a Zyphon. That's the bloody Space Marine one. Give me 2 seconds because I'm getting comfy.
So I know the Marauder bomber is the better one of the 2. I can't remember what the other one's called.
Right, go on, give me 2 seconds.
Oh, hang on a minute. Here we go. Marauder Bomber, Marauder Destroyer.
That's it.
So the
Well
bomber
done.
obviously has bombs,
Mhm.
and the
The
destroyer
destroyer has
has
rocket,
missiles.
missile rockets, yeah.
Yeah. At the moment, they are 20 wounds, 3 up save, T7. Now, I think they should go to T8
Yeah,
because they're fucking huge. I think they
yeah.
should be similar to Baneblades. They should have the same wounds as a Baneblade, same toughness as a Baneblade, but they
Yeah,
fly and they have less power, way less powerful weapons. They have nowhere near as powerful weapons. So I feel like if they just went to Baneblade durability, that would make them not competitive viable, but viable for fun.
definitely.
And that's it, I think.
Yeah, we're
Easy,
getting through it.
easy. That's it. We've put
Easy.
Imperial Guard to rights
There you go.
in a
Job
mere
done.
2 hours 55 minutes.
2 hours,
We
55
fixed
minutes.
it. We did years worth of R&D and rules writing for Games Workshop, and we fixed it in 3 hours.
There you go. That's all it takes, man.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Oh, goodness
And
me.
funny enough, actually, I think they have got they've got an advert out the minute for rules writer, haven't
Yes, they have, yeah. Undisclosed pay. The only requirements is an A level in English, and that's it. And
Oh, well, there you go.
And it's preference for previous experience in rules writing.
Rules writing. Oh, well, the A level in English buggers me, man. I'm a Georgian.
Yeah.
But nevertheless.
Right. Well, we hope everyone enjoyed this this mad ranting.
It was a mad rant.
I think
indeed.
we started off on a rant and then ended sort of reasonably brisk, and then went places when we started talking about the regimental doctrines. But
yeah,
other than that, I think we were reasonable in most areas.
no, I think we have been. We haven't. Like I said, we're not trying to break the game with each time. I think
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, guys, these are just our thoughts.
Absolutely.
Remember, by all means, please hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you think I'm talking absolute bollocks, then say I'm talking absolute bollocks. If you think me or Nathan's got a valid point, me or the Mazer, should I say, have got a valid point, then please let us know and possibly share and, get the word out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd
At
appreciate
the end of the
it.
day, yeah, we're just two blokes having a bit of a rant, trying to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Trying not to hate too much, but trying not to love too much. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure everyone will agree, at some point in your life, this hobby always becomes a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right, I will. Let's take us home. So thank you everyone for listening. You can catch us next Thursday at 7 p.m. for another live stream battle report. This time we're playing Adeptus Mechanicus versus Adeptus Custodes. And you can also catch us the following Sunday for another 9th edition Wishlist at 7 p.m. Again, feel free to join our Discord for free. The link's below. Patreon is patreon.com/lightning assault. There's a link below to fiverr.com for the Mad Magos paints for James's or rather the Mad Magos's painting commissioning. And again, Lightning Assault Media at lightningassaultmedia.com. We hope you enjoyed listening to this, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you later.